Hey folks, and welcome to Let's Talk. This is my show where I sit down with subject matter experts and or people well-versed in a certain topic in tabletop, and we editorialize, give our opinions, and generally discuss the comings, goings, and current hot news. Now, this isn't necessarily as G-rated as the rest of GMG, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. Today I'm here with Kris from Way of the Brush. And we're going to be doing a hobby hangout. This is something that, it's like an episode I've actually wanted to do for a long time. And it's talking about how when you are in a hobby like this, sometimes hanging out and doing the procedural part, the building, the painting, the making stuff bits is really, really useful for your sanity. And actually helps get stuff done. So we're going to do it today. We're actually in a hobby while we talk. And yeah, what are you working on, Kris?
I am working on the new, what is it? Zone Mortalis?
Zone Mortalis?
Mortalis.
Yeah.
The new Mortalis.
No, it's Mortalis.
Got all the sprues ready to go. I got them every kind of thing organized here. You had already started some, so I'm just going to pick up where you left off and
finish up all the walls and pillars and stuff.
Just going to get all this stuff done. That's the goal.
The goal?
That's the goal.
Cracking it out. And I am building a box set from...
Yeah.
1990 something. What year's on here? 95. I'm building a Warhammer Quest box set. Because we're gonna, after you guys enjoyed Hero Quest so much, and it's been a hard time finding all the expansions and stuff to try and do the expansions. So I went into my storage locker, I found my unpunched copy of Hero Quest, and we're gonna play Quest.
That's gonna be cool.
Well, there's 75 monsters in here. There's so much stuff in this box, it's unbelievable. So I'm gonna get all that. I'm gonna start with the heroes. I'm gonna do one hero in between each round of monsters as a way of pacing myself. I like to set little goals.
Now, here's a question, and I'm sure you know, White Dwarf used to put out characters in the White Dwarfs. Was there ever a compilation of all that?
No, but I have right here in this little, in this other little tub of fucking random shit. Christian, my other Kris, of the 900 Chris's I know, kept all of the booklets. So I have every single... He's got the cardboard and stuff too in storage still, but we have every single character's booklets. We just don't have all the miniatures. So the ones we're missing, we have the miniatures for the Noble, we have the Pit Fighter, we have the Elf Ranger, which actually is being used as the Lucky Prince Lorand in his skirmish warband. We have the Witch Hunter, and the ones we're missing, and we have the Warrior Priest. Actually, I can't find my Warrior Priest though, so I might not have him. But the ones we're missing right now are the Chaos Warrior. We don't have his booklet or his miniature. The Dwarf Troll Slayer miniature and the Bretonnian Knight miniature. Those are the things we're looking for right now. But everything else we have, so we're pretty close to being able to just rock and roll with this.
What's the picture for the warrior?
I don't have the cards for him. It was apparently the only one that Kris never had. He never had the Chaos Warrior because there's no booklet for it here. So he had an axe. He looked like Lord Borak from Blood Bowl, except with
because I have a Bretonnian on foot.
If you have that one, that's awesome.
But I don't know if he has that winged helmet. I don't know if it's that model.
Because
I know there was
a couple Bretonnian Knights on foot miniatures.
Yeah.
They were all done by the Perrys though. This is the one that was done by Brian Nelson. So not Brian Nelson, Gary Morley, because Gary Morley did most of the quest dudes, except for Jez Goodwin did the Ranger. I think Morrison did the Troll Slayer. Maybe it was Ali. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, so this is what we're gonna work on today, and it just seemed like a good topic to bust into, because this is a thing that I don't know if a lot of people do anymore, or if they do it, I think they might do it online. I think they might do it on Discord, and it's kind of evolved from.
Well, I think vicariously a lot of Twitch streamers, this is kind of what they're emulating. This is what they're
doing, yeah.
They're
exactly.
emulating.
This is the modern version of that, exactly.
Yeah.
Hanging out with somebody,
yeah,
and having a little hobby time, basically.
Yeah.
What's your history with this? What was your hobby hangout you did when you were doing this early in the hobby?
Well, back in the Rogue Trader days, my buddies, there was about three of us, sometimes upwards of 5 of us, and we would usually sit around the table and get some painting done, get some assembly done, because back in the day we were very hardcore about not playing with unpainted models. That was just the rule of our group. You didn't play with unpainted models. If it wasn't painted, you couldn't play with it.
That's really interesting, because if you came up near a Games Workshop store back then, that was the rule. You couldn't play in a Games Workshop store with an unpainted model.
Right.
But you guys didn't have a local Games Workshop store.
No.
So why do you? I have a theory about why I think that was the way you guys went. But what was your like your rationale for that as a group?
Well, because our terrain, most of the terrain was built by me. Other than a couple buddies would, make other odds and ends and things like that. But otherwise, we had this wonderful terrain, and yeah, it was really emulating what we saw in the magazines, White Dwarf and, those kind of things. And it just looked really nice. And now Rogue Trader, you could play on a 4x4, and that was perfectly fine.
Yeah,
and
not a lot of models.
Yeah, 6x4. We even had sometimes trouble filling the table up with decent terrain, and we used to do sometimes we'd do the tablecloth with the books kind of thing to emulate the hills.
To make hills and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, we were just very staunch on the playing with painted, and so we would be busy Thursday nights, sometimes Friday nights, especially when most of us were between girlfriends. We'd get more hobbying in, and sometimes, usually it was just sitting around with a couple pots of coffee. But sometimes when beers were involved,
coffee.
Yeah. But sometimes when we were drinking beers or whatever, and that was on a Friday night, it usually devolved into us bailing on the hobby. And
or ending the game,
hitting the scene on a Friday night.
We would usually put a movie on. There's a lot of watchings of Conan or Mad Max or
right.
There would always be something in the background. Akira would get put on quite a bit. Whatever random weird movie we were watching, we put on the background.
We didn't do a lot of movies, but we would put on whatever new albums we were all listening to. So it was our time.
Your music, yeah.
Yeah. So because one buddy of ours who was a bit older than us, he was a little bit more
cool, hip.
Yeah, he was the cool guy of our group. Yeah. Believe it or not, kids, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
It
I
was.
Don't know how.
It was my buddy Mike, who I still talk to, and he was the cool guy of the group, and he was the most experienced. And of course, at the time too, we were young squirts still, and he could still because he had just turned 19, so.
He was liquor.
Yeah, he was the one who got all the liquor, and we used to have PDQ show up at the door. And
Pete show up.
Yeah, and so
don't Pete and drive.
Yeah, and so and usually, whenever it was just coffee sessions, hobbying got done.
Yeah, lots of hobby late into the night.
Yeah, and then of course we had our little circle of friends. Had a circle of friends, girlfriends,
right?
And they were so we were these two groups, and periodically it would be kind of okay, well we're doing stuff with them, and so hobbying would take a back seat,
right? Yeah.
And then of course when things were
dicey on the outs,
when
Friday night being hobby night again. There's always the sweet solace of hobby night.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny how I do think that you said something really important earlier, which was that what you saw in magazines informed your opinion of how you do this kind of thing. And I do wonder, because I went through a very similar idea. I didn't think you were allowed to play until it was all done. In my head, when I would see all of this, when I'd see the studio guys, and I would see all of this this gorgeous photography in White Dwarf and the books, to me in my mind, that was just how it was done. It would be socially unacceptable to play with an unpainted miniature. And this isn't an indictment of playing with unpainted miniatures. I'm just talking about how in the
kind of sounds like it.
In the late 80s, if you've never met another miniature wargamer, you know what I mean? If you get in this hobby and you occasionally meet a miniature wargamer when you go to the other town to go see your local Games Workshop, or you see them also browsing in the local game store that sells GW stuff, or wargaming stuff or model kits or whatever. But you might not know them, so you don't know what their view of the hobby is. You assume everybody identifies that hobby the same way, and that if you're seeing the people who make it do it in a magazine, that's the correct way, right? That's the way it's meant to be
the
enjoyed.
official stance.
Exactly, it's got that stamp of official likeness to it, and so it to me, I really didn't I didn't understand the first time I saw someone playing with unpainted miniatures what the hell I was looking at. I was like, whoa, hang on. What are you guys doing? You're doing this wrong.
Your hobby wrong.
How are you guys not understanding? This is totally this is what it looks like in the pictures. And it kind of melted my 10 or 11-year-old brain to see people playing with unpainted models. Not to say that there was anything wrong with them doing that, but I felt very naive for even feeling weird about it. You know what I mean? Like I felt weird about seeing people play unpainted miniatures, and then felt really naive about feeling naive.
Yeah.
So it's a funny catch-22 where, you know, in that sort of like proto era of my hobby, I didn't really understand what my hobby was yet, and so I had that same even when I didn't really know anybody in the hobby, and I was doing this mostly just by myself, like painting my soldiers alone and reading books and stuff. I didn't feel like I could even put my miniatures on a gaming table until it was all done, until my train was painted and, you know, like my models were done, and I played lots of games, like, you know, solo games, just like line my dudes up against some other little, you know, opposition faction and play some games. And even then, it was never until everything was painted. So what's your preferred way to do this now? Because I really enjoy hanging out and hobbying. It's, again, we got our coffee, I got my water here so I can stay hydrated. I got my like little like building plan here. I'm gonna build a hero, then build 4 dudes, then build a hero, then build 4 dudes. What's your preferred way to do this kind of like hobby night stuff?
Usually hobby night. I honestly, since I've been doing this professionally, I really don't have hobby nights.
You and I used to have hobby nights in many more games.
Right.
We'd sit in the office and build stuff like
sure.
after hours.
Yeah, I guess, and I guess really since those times, because. Yeah, I really.
You're at work when you're doing it now? Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, I'm at work. And so now, again, it's, I got to get this done, because I'm going to be filming this. I'm going to use it. Yeah. You know, and so, yeah, and I've mentioned this before, that is the danger of your hobby becoming
your job.
100%. You know?
Yeah, it's really funny because like last week's podcast, if you guys haven't listened to it, was about nostalgia. And my best friend, Chris, one of my oldest friends, he's been doing this 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy kick, and the great thing about Chris is we have a very like similar, like, I guess, like hobby code that we follow, and as soon as he got interested in this, he got like his like OCD kicked in of like, I got the right miniatures, they have to all be from the same sculptor, like all this craziness that like explodes in his brain. But we stopped because we were doing something that was just for us. Right, like I know there's people that really enjoy watching the 6th edition fantasy stuff, but I take a great deal of like personal satisfaction in it. Like I'm really enjoying collecting and building and painting these old toy soldiers, and so it doesn't feel like work. It's doing a project that because of the way that project is, doesn't feel like work to me. And he made the comment that after 2 weeks of doing this, after 2 weeks of like collecting, he's built a high elf warband. He's building an orc warband right now. He realized he unplugged from the current like hobbies zeitgeist. He had no idea what was coming out this week from like Warhammer Community. He had no idea what the new releases were from like Corvus Belli. He just stopped paying attention, and he turned his gaze kind of like inwards and backwards, and was like no longer caught up in like the big sort of like 24-hour news cycle of like the industry. Right. He's like, and it was so relaxing. Like I didn't feel this like pressure to like find things out or know what was going on or like look for information. Like he just had this like sort of like decompression, and that's why for me, and this is kind of like I guess tying off the knot, the whole idea of like having a hobby night and doing something just for yourself, like not because it has to get done, but because you want to do it, you want to hang out with people. It can really refresh your love of what you're doing. You kind of reconnect with like why you enjoy what you're doing, especially doing it with people, because I love, one of my favorite parts of the hobby is that shared like joy of when you and I first played Necromunda. You hadn't played Necromunda how many years? Like,
it's ages.
For forever. That first day we played Necromunda, you and I were both so pumped to play more Necromunda.
Oh yeah.
Because like you got this like reconnection basically with something that you hadn't done in so long.
Definitely. And even though I'm getting my dick kicked in, I'm still having fun.
We'll see how that goes now, because you're playing.
No, this will be after.
This will be after. Yeah.
This will be
after. You're playing Corpse Grinders now, and those guys are like just fucking murder engines. Like I don't know if you've looked at the stat lines for them yet. They are horrifying. They're probably the most killy close combat things in the game. Like they have to get there. It's gonna be like my Goliaths times 10. They have to get there, but they're just unstoppable killing machines. So they have the Corpse Grinders have this crazy rule because you haven't really dug through the books yet, so you don't really know. So you have to always have as many initiates, your juvie guys, as you have everybody else. So your Skinners, your bigger guys, your Grinders, and your whatever the big guy's name is.
Grinder.
And so weirdly, unlike every other gang where you have to have at least half gangers, you're like your new guys basically who have the stats of gangers, by the way. They're not bad by any stretch of imagination.
Right.
You have to have at least half of them. They all have infiltration, and they can all get guns. Anyone who's not them has no access to guns, but they're all specialists. Your gang doesn't have gangers in it at all.
Oh, okay.
So you never roll for their stat increases. You always buy them. So you level up all of your guys exactly how you want to level them up, but they never have taking twists and turns you don't want. And the ones like your distraction meet your cheap stuff just infiltrates and distracts everybody while your guys run up there and get their machine guns.
That's already got ideas forming right now.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be really good because your whole idea is that like your dudes are basically there to distract the foe with like small arms like grenades.
Yeah.
Because like you can buy anybody smoke grenades, and you just throw smoke grenades, run up under smoke, and then get in there with your double chain cleavers. And so the double chain cleaver might be the most expensive weapon in the game. And it's like a melee weapon in the game. I think it's like 160 creds. But if you give it to your boss, he's the only character in the game that starts with a 2+ to hit in melee. And he'll have 6 strength 6 -2 2 damage attacks.
Damn.
He'll just like anything he touches just explodes. Like there's nothing that's gonna survive that. Even my cops with like 2+ armor saves are probably just gonna die if one of them gets through. It's horrifying.
They have 2+ saves?
In melee. The ones with the riot shields get +2 melee. Sorry, from the front with their heavy overlaid armor, because they all have armored bodysuits, which gives them a basic 6+ save, and the heavy flak is a 5+, 4+ against blasts. So they get basically a 4+, 3+ against blasts, and then you get +2 save in the front arc and melee from your riot shields.
Oh, that's
so. Cool. But those are the guys that don't even have guns. They can only also fight you in melee. It's like all they can do basically is crash into you with shields and hope their armor holds and they don't die. But if like one of those hits gets their damage too, you've probably just killed me because you get 2 dice pick the highest for injury rolls. It's horrifying. And then your masks. Oh my god, my Goliath would be so messed up against them. So the leader's mask gives him the fearsome ability to charge or shoot him. You have to make a willpower check. And my willpower, like my cool is really good for my glass. My willpower is just hot garbage. It's like 9+.
Right.
So like even like my murder, like my super boss guy, he needs like a 7 to go in and actually charge or shoot you. Because you're just so fucking scary. Because you're like just a dude dripping in like cannibal viscera, wearing like a demon mask. And even the glass are like, they grew me in a vat. I'm not sure what's going on. Just freaking out.
That's cool.
And then the other guys, the basic guys, like the champion level dudes, all have, it's the same thing, but it's with a cool check. So the braver guys will go up against them, but the boss is just like, he's basically Leatherface. Like you're just gonna freak out and not want to go after him.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's funny because like I felt that like kicking off with me too in Necromunda because I kept building stuff for it even after we were done playing. I was like, I'm gonna build my rogue doc for the next one. I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna build that. Like I just started like, I got into that crazy cycle of like, ooh, I want to have this. Ooh, I want to have that.
Right.
Ooh, I want to have this. And now I'm gonna start painting my Palanite. Sorry, they're from the Palatine Hive, but they're called Palanite Enforcers because they're from the Palatine Hive. So even though they're from the Palatine Hive, they're not Palatine Enforcers. They're Palanite Enforcers. I feel like it's just a typo. They walked back, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It feels like something that just was a mistake at one point. And they were like, let's just run with it and we'll come up with a reason. It makes me laugh. So how are you going to paint your corpse grinders? You had a plan for them that sounded pretty cool. You're telling me about.
Yeah. So the corpse grinders, now I have not completely read their background.
Their floof.
But from what I understand, they're like from the manufacturer where they're just basically charring up bodies.
That's right. They're making corpse darts. They're making the dark secret that Sonic Green's made out of people.
So I went with kind of a bit of a logical approach to how I went about their color scheme, which is that basically I went for more of a healthcare kind of meat packing plant uniform style where they have like a solid bold color, or I was going to go blue and white, cool. But I went with a really light green and white.
Yeah, like a Dr. Scrubs green?
Yeah.
Like a dental hygienist green?
Yeah. So
cool.
That's what I'm going for because basically...
I imagine it's not going to stay that color in all the places, though.
No. So right now, I'm just getting ready to film showing how I'm going to gore them up.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's going to be fun. Make them look all nice and scary. They're going to look muddy, really, essentially, because I'm probably going to go a few layers. And I'm also probably going to show doing like dripping gore and you know what I mean. So,
doing like your hot glue stuff. Or
just because the one guy he's got that chain
Oh, what was that great stuff that you were using for the spider? It's the spider web stuff from Green Stuff World.
Yeah.
You can use that too for the gore.
Yeah.
Because it sticks between things. You know what I mean? It gives you that cool stretch.
All spiderweb stuff is crackle medium.
Oh, really?
It's just crackle medium. You run it through an airbrush.
Yeah.
And it's just crackle medium.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like I said, like that's the beauty of Green Stuff World is that they have that capacity to see something and go, oh, we can make $1 from that. That's really cool, and God bless them for doing it.
It's cool because you have like a world eater idea for them.
Yeah. So that was basic. Premise was a world eater kind of vibe, right? Because 30K world eater, I should say, pre-heresy world.
Well, yeah. Well, the 40K world eaters still have that color under there somewhere.
Yeah.
But after 10,000 years of fighting, they're just so covered in gore.
It's stained the armor.
It's stained the armor permanently, like whatever the gore red is.
But yeah, so that's kind of what the inspiration was, because again, all the time, the idea that corn worshippers, it's always red and brass, right, all the time, and that gets kind of dull.
It visually marks them out, but the problem is there's so many red and there's so many warm color armies. Like Tyranids are a warm color, Blood Angels are warm color. Like it doesn't make them unique looking.
No, and these guys, they're just a fun opportunity to do something different, because all the time, I'm working on like Eldar and whatever.
Clean colors, clean lines.
Clean lines, clean colors, and so this is going to be a fun opportunity to really kind of make them. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want them to have kind of a chipped armor. I don't know if I want that, because I'm feeling that probably it won't look good with all the blood.
Right.
It'll be messy.
Too much, basically.
Yeah,
keep it super clean underneath, and I think the gore will stand out more.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you want some juxtaposition. You want them to look like the mess. The mess isn't how they would normally look, basically.
Right. And so that's basically what I am doing with them right now.
What are you gonna do with the initiates with their muzzles? That's one of my favorite things. Is the initiates have these weird have you ever saw the Saw movie? Remember the one? There's the Saw movie, the girl, and she's got the thing in her mouth like a bit, and if she doesn't get it off in time, it's gonna open her it's gonna basically split her head open.
Yeah, it's a bear trap, reverse bear trap.
Reverse bear trap, yeah.
Yeah.
And they all look like they're wearing that, but I think the whole idea from reading the background for them is that it's to keep the workers in the Corpse Guild from just snacking, because some of them are all starving. Right, that's it. The whole idea is gross, the silent green, but the idea being that if they're gonna just take a bite, they might go crazy, so help them out, give them a little muzzle so they don't accidentally take a bite of the corpses on the way into the grinder. And there's when I did the review and we talked about it, it is the darkest fucking story. It is so dark. It is the darkest box. It is the one where it's funny because last week I talked about this. If this was made in the 80s, it would 100% have a parental advisory sticker. Because the entire thing is torture, death, cannibalism, and madness. There is no happy part of the Dark Uprising box set.
Right.
There is no happy ending. Historically, everyone dies. They abandon the hive goes dead, and even just talking with the Corpse Guild, they're like, yeah, and the Corpse Guild is a really high suicide rate. Every once in a while. When they're just putting bodies in the grinder all day, every day, one of the Corpse Guild guys is just my turn. He just jumps in the grinder himself because, he's so just, mentally destroyed from doing it all. And I was like, this is so dark.
Yeah.
This is so fucking, crazy dark.
Sounds like my kind of gang.
It has a real, 90s dark RPG vibe. A very dark vibe to it. Underground. It has a real, this is getting a little off the rails now.
Well, and old 40K used to be like that.
Well, that was it, because it's funny because I talked about this in the podcast last week, how I chickened out buying the Realms of Chaos book with my mom when I was 10 or 11.
Right.
So we go to the comic book store and I've saved up all my money to buy the hardcover Slaves of Darkness. And my mom comes in with me and she's like, I told the story last week, so you guys have already heard this, but Chris hasn't heard this. And my mom was like, where's the book you want to buy? And I look up and I see the parental advisory sticker and I'm like, nope, not buying this. Nope. Oh, it's not here, it's gone. And I just bought some fighting fantasy books instead. Because then my mom would think I was any fucking crazier than I already am. I had one look at it and it was just I totally failed my panic check to buy this book. And today, that Dark Uprising box should have a parental advisory on it, because some of the themes in there are just madness. Total dark themes. But I like the idea of a horror game Like, you know what I mean? Like, there isn't like, it's funny because Warhammer Black Library just started their horror series.
Right.
Of doing like horror novels, and I haven't read any of them yet, but I've heard they're pretty good. They've lumped some classics in there, like they put in Genevieve, like the Genevieve series, which is the old. She was actually a Warhammer Quest like character. She existed in like the Warhammer Quest, like Death on the Reich, Genevieve, like sort of like storylines, and they're more like gothic horror. You know what I mean? Like they're not really like what we would consider like a horror movie today. It's the idea of like dreary castles and, you know, Frankenstein, Mary Shelley kind of stuff.
Some Edgar Allan Poe shit.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like existential dread, not necessarily like
a
little more Leatherfacey than it is like here. Because I keep bringing him up, but like to me that's the shift in like horror and gore, where you have one where it's like it's about like feeling this like otherness, you know what I mean? That's haunting you, and that's like the whole idea of vampires and the undead and stuff like that gives you this idea of like the other.
Bit Lovecraft. Yeah,
exactly, Lovecraft, like outer terrors and stuff like that. Versus Leatherface is this like real present person who is a human being that is cutting up bodies to like make clothes out of them and also eat them. And so like you have this weird one's kind of supernatural and slightly impossible, and so it's weird because it's hard to comprehend how something like that can happen versus, oh my God, if someone went crazy, they could just do this.
Yeah.
And that's a different type of terror, right? Where like...
Oh, definitely. Those movies scare me more than, you know, Dracula and...
Oh, yeah. You know what the scariest thing I've seen in the last 5 years is? Chernobyl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, that's so sad.
But so terrifying.
Yeah.
Because one, it actually happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like... all of those people died in like this absolutely like most horrifying possible way. Their bodies just decomposing around them. You know what I mean? Like their cells all die and they just like it's so ghoulish. Like it's so insane.
Oh yeah.
And that miniseries. If you haven't watched the Chernobyl miniseries, it is the best thing. It's the best thing HBO's done probably in 20 years. In like 20 years. So underrated. What's his name? Harris.
Buddy there.
The guy who plays the doctor. Yeah. So he was in The Terror. So well done. Actually, AMC's The Terror is really well done too. If you haven't seen that one,
no, I haven't seen that one.
So you'd like The Terror actually. It's a Dan Simmons book about what happened to the Terror and the Erebus, the two ships that were trying to find the Northwest Passage, and they found them. They actually found both of them in the last like 5 years. I think 2014 they found them, and they were exactly where all the Inuit said they were. And no one bothered looking for like forever. And then there was Inuit stories about like these, you know, men walking across the ice and where like a ship had gone down. And then they just found it. It was right there.
It was right where they said
where they said it was going to be. And it's really interesting because it's about a Wendigo, or what could have been a Wendigo basically. And
right.
It's also about the fact that like all of their tin provisions, because they were stuck in the ice for like 3 years. So like they didn't get out. They kept trying to get out, and the ice would never. They were stuck in ice that wouldn't thaw, and the ice flow is moving around them, moving them in this big circle, and they're slowly starving to death. And their provisions are all going bad because they were sealed with lead. So lead seeping into all their like tin provisions and stuff. And like eventually, we know they resulted in cannibalism because there's bones with chew marks on them, and just like all kinds of bad stuff happened. They tried to walk out, they all died. And no one knows exactly what happened, but they have records. There was a lot of sealed naval. These brass tubes that they would leave messages in like a cairn that got discovered, and it's a really good like historical drama, basically like a historical fiction, basically of like what the events might have been, basically from the journals and all things that have been found.
Speculative.
Yep, and it's the same guy. It's what's his name? Something Harris. He's a fantastic actor, like super underrated actor. But Chernobyl is terrifying because like it's this invisible. I think it does the great part of that invisible existential dread. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where you feel this like real tension and terror because something's happening that can actually happen in real life that no one can possibly control and that everyone was unprepared for.
Right.
And like and people are like, well, how long until it's finished? And it's like, this is never going to be finished. Like like this for 24,000 years, this is going to be uninhabitable. Like we're going to be fighting. We're literally going to be having to guard this monster we've created in Chernobyl forever, and checking up on it and re-encasing it in concrete if we have to. And if it ever melted down into like the groundwater, all of basically like the biggest part, like everything from like Minsk to Kiev, like 50 million people which wouldn't be able to eat or live there.
Well, the thing that I find amazing, and I don't know if this was talked about in the show, but like you and I, okay,
I remember.
And well, all of us who were alive on the Earth at that time, we're all still carrying those isotopes.
Oh yeah, forever.
In our body.
Yeah.
And yet our children who were, never knew of this thing and are not affected. We were like everybody on this entire planet was affected by that event. And
that's how it got discovered. Sweden started to pick up the radiation.
Yeah.
Because at the point at which they didn't even think it was a problem yet, they still thought it was like, they're basically still trying to hide it through bureaucracy and like, oh no, it's not a problem. Like the West can't know this is happening. All of a sudden, the radiation's being picked up in Sweden, and in West Berlin, they're having kids play inside. Like they're not letting kids outdoors. Yeah. And there's that terrifying scene where the one guy, the guy Alan Skarsgård's playing. Boris, whatever his name was, he's hearing the news basically from the West, and he looks down and he just sees the kids in Chernobyl going to school, like walking outside of school, like playing and stuff. And they have no idea that they're being like dosed with like
lethal,
whatever it is, like 14,000 Romkin or whatever of like of like radiation. And it's amazing actually if you read the IMDb reviews too. Apparently the thing that for people who are like alive and in that region at the time who watched the show, there's some inconsistencies, but things the filmmakers would never know. Like stop signs got wrong because or the doctor,
Yeah, she was not.
Well, they even talk about she's a composite of a bunch of different people. Yeah. But like those like stop signs are wrong because how would the filmmakers possibly know that stop signs in like this one little region were manufactured in this country versus this country, so they're slightly different looking, or like little bits and pieces that just aren't quite right.
Yeah.
But like if you read like the IMDb reviews and stuff from people who are like who are nationals or live in your area at the time, they're like, this is the closest anyone's ever gotten. Not necessarily to telling the story correctly, because obviously no one was there, and they're piecing it together. But like capturing what it felt like to live there at that time.
Right.
That was what I got the sense of from reading all the reviews from people that were in the region and living in the Soviet Union at the time, was that the thing they really nailed that made it so good wasn't the details of the science or the event or the timeline or whatever, which they're just doing their best to piece together, but actually just like the sensation of living in the Soviet Union during that period, like what the architecture looked like and how everything was like industrial but a little bit run down, like that feeling of like what it was, the color palette,
and
like all that stuff.
Even right from the first episode, watching that, and I mean, it being very true to reality,
right?
Yeah, the Soviet Union was destined to fail. Like the whole thing at that point was destined to fail.
Well, if that portrayal of the bureaucracy and stuff is correct, then like when you have, it's funny though because it's so prophetic, man. Like we can see it in the West now. We can see that same level of like stuff being done just to do it, and the hollowing out of institutions and stuff. Like it's not not to get too political, but it's not like that. There wasn't like a lot of like, oh, this seems horrifyingly familiar to like my local like town council here in St. Catharines. You know what I mean? Like of just like how they behave and how they talk to each other and how they do things. And obviously it's an extreme case and like a very extreme time in like in the history of the world. But like, yeah, there's a lot of resonance, which is sad.
Definitely.
Which is sad. But like I think the most terrifying scene of that whole thing for me, and it's funny because we're talking about horror movies and I'm bringing this up. It's the one where they're underneath the reactor trying to get the water out so that the bomb doesn't so it doesn't go off like a bomb. Yeah. And their lights go out, and the radiation fries the batteries and all the lamps, and it's just the Geiger counter just roaring. Yeah. And then the last flashlight goes up, and they cut to black. I literally felt nauseous. I literally felt like nausea, like bubbling up inside me. Yeah. Apparently, two of those guys are still alive.
Oh, really?
The guys that went underneath it. Apparently, two of them are still like alive today, or one of them's alive today. I was reading a review from.
Must be made of some stern stuff.
Somebody, Roger Ebert. Oh well, come on, man. All those people that dealt with that stuff, just to know you're gonna die and go anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, you have to be carved out of wood. Like that is a level of like personal integrity and like self-sacrifice that's just unimaginable.
Oh, like, hilarious with the coal miners.
Oh, they're my favorite part. They're my favorite part. They're my favorite part. They're all working naked. It's so funny because my dad's a mining engineer. So that is the best portrayal of anyone in mining. The best part was when he's getting ready to talk. He's like, I hate doing this. And he's like, and the one guy, Skarsgård goes, my advice, don't lie to them. These men work in the dark. They see everything. and the crew chief walks in and just blows the lid off the whole thing. And anyway, he walks up, my favorite, he throws the mask and he's like, if these things fucking work, you'd be wearing them.
Yeah.
And he leaves. That guy was my favorite character of the entire thing was that mining boss. Just because I grew up around guys in mining. And they're all like that too. They're all no nonsense. I mean, you got to think that in mining, and we're jumping on topics like crazy right now, but like in mining, that's the thing where like little mistakes get everyone killed. You know what I mean? So like you have to be super practical, super on the ball, and at the same time be able to have this like dark sense of humor and ability to like laugh off tragedy, setbacks, mistakes, because like it's all or nothing a lot of times in mining. If you're running a drill, or if you're trying to like, you know, just get the next 100 feet forward, you have to take risks and stuff, and people can get killed if you're not careful. But anyway, the Dark Uprising thing, it's funny actually. You know what's funny is the one thing I thought would be cool actually to do as a piece of terrain for this, because I haven't bought a lot of the GW terrain recently, is the tectonic frag drill.
Yeah,
would be a really cool piece actually for your corpse grinders. Yeah. For your corpse grinders though, it's like a grinder.
Yeah.
That just popped in my head because of the whole mining thing. That would be a really cool thing to do as like your gang relic or your base when you're attacking your base. Get a tectonic frag drill and have it be like the blender that you like put stuff through.
Yeah.
That'd be really, really cool. You should do that. Yeah. Tectonic corpse grinder.
Yeah.
Because you can see, I think you can totally see as the grinder cult, like all of your captives, you just instantly grind up.
Yeah. Just grind.
You just take them back to the base and just throw them in the grinder. Because they'd be worshipping the grinder at this point. Just corn it up and like give it like a big pair of like the corn symbol horns. Have people chucked into it constantly. Yeah, and I'm excited, man, because it's gonna be like a real like. I actually found some other bits for us to use too. I found some old scavy plague ghouls, and they're gonna make perfect like cannibal ghouls for us, so we can do like the locals have gone crazy like crowd suppression thing, because there's actually a mission in the book where like literally there's like a crowd of like civilians that you have to like control basically, and those guys will be perfect.
Subdue.
Well, you have to imagine everyone's starving to death at one point, right? So everybody gets a taste for the long pork. They all start etting the peoples. So I am 6 Skaven out of 8 done, and I built my wizard at this point. How are you doing?
I got 2 columns almost ready to go.
Done?
Yeah.
Using the recommendation in there is to use the top as a guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when you're gluing it together, and that way you don't crush it, because it's a bit hard to line everything up otherwise. Yeah, I do like the tooth and groove glue design in there though. It's a nice simple like ability to like make the joints strong. Mm-hmm. So it's like a tongue and groove.
Well, we were looking at it how they line up on the tile.
Yep.
And like it's good, but there is some
limitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to put the pillars on those raised bits, the raised like little vents that are on the plastic things. I have the plastic tiles now for it. So if you don't use those, if you don't put them on that thing, then unfortunately you're not going to be able to have them stick in place, and some of them just won't sit right. Like the walls and the doors and stuff that go in between the pillars don't quite sit right. So you're always going to have those pillars at those 4 cardinal points in some configuration, basically. And then the rest of it can get put together around that. I don't think this is going to permanently replace, because I thought about buying a second set of the tiles too, but I don't really want to get a second set of the walls. And I thought about doing, I think we're still going to use all of our Death Ray design stuff, because it's heavier, so it doesn't move around as much. We noticed, because this stuff's fairly light, so unless you slot it down really well, it does tend to shuffle a little bit. Mm-hmm. And 2, it's nice, but like it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit fiddly. We'll see how it looks when it's all done. I'm excited to paint it. It's gonna be fun to paint.
I mean, I like the tiles.
The tiles themselves are fantastic. I think the tiles are fantastic.
And I'm kind of waiting to see what, if they come back in stock, because I'd probably pick them up anyway, because they're just a lot of fun.
The tiles, they're in stock right now. You can get them at Meatmart.
No, they were. Oh, Meatmart.
Yeah, man, Meatmart's got like 25 sets or something like that.
I was on GW's site. And
they're in stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff goes fast.
I mean, I haven't checked in a while, but yeah.
Single prints, they come back. They come and they go. Sunrise, sunset. So, what is your thoughts on non-building this, like this kind of hobby time? Like, what would you do for like a board game night? Like, would you guys do any stuff like that as opposed to just like building and painting? Like, do you have any experience?
Like way back in the day?
Yeah, like way back in the day. Did you guys do any things where you're like sitting around doing hobby that's not this?
Well, no, it was either this or girls.
That's fair. This is your primary focus?
Yeah. I only have 2 interests.
Girls and Warhammer?
Girls and Warhammer, that's about it.
Attaboy,
I'm a simple creature.
Keeping it pure. Keeping it simple.
I'm not one for complications.
Do you guys do a board game night with the kids ever? Like a tabletop night?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we play Talisman.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. my son used to play War Machine with me.
Yeah, remember.
And the daughters, sometimes she plays Talisman if she's in the mood. She does whatever she wants.
That's fair.
Girls. And
I say teenagers. Not big girls, just teenagers.
yeah, well, yeah. Anyway. But usually a couple of our friends come over too, and we'll play. And, they're not really into like
Gaming?
Gaming, yeah. But board games, very. And my one buddy, he's all about sports. He's a very,
athletic outdoorsy guy.
Yeah, he's a handyman. He doesn't really go in for Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? He doesn't know the difference between an elf and a stormtrooper kind of thing, right? He couldn't tell you which was which. But when we play with Talisman, he gets excited. He gets into it.
That's so funny.
He gets right into his little character, and you know what I mean? He goes, "Oh, well, I'm a thief. Yeah, I'm going to steal all your shit." And he chases everybody. It's like, fuck off, man. Like, I'm trying to save up here. I'm trying to go to the middle. And,
I always do that when I'm the Chaos Warrior. I always change your alignment. Be like, change your alignment. Drop all your gear. I'm such a dick. I would Chaos Warrior people and just change their alignments over and over again.
Yeah. So, that's what we'll do periodically. I was actually thinking of doing something like that with the family once I get my gaming space ready.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're going to do...
Can I inaugurate it?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing like a family game night kind of thing.
Family game night is super important. We do family game night. We play a lot of board games and like simple card games with the kids. Just because, one, for a certain age, it really helps with like reading, I find, and like basic math, like sums. Cash loves Connect 4, like it's one of those favorite games. One, because he's 4 years old, and so whenever he gets to say 4, it's like, I'm 4! He has a hard time with not cheating, but that's just because he's my son.
Well,
and they also really like that Anomia game. You ever play that?
Mm-mm.
So it is like, so we have Anomia Kids, but Anomia is like a really, really, really fun game for kids to play with adults, because it's like a really even playing field. So basically, you have a picture on a card, and all the pictures on cards are all keyed to certain colors. And you go around, you have a big deck of cards in the middle of the table, you each flip a card, and when you flip a card that's the same color that somebody else has already got flipped in front of them, then you have to yell a word that starts with the same sound as the picture on the card. So like if you basically had like an octopus in front of you on a pink card, and somebody else flipped a pink card, you have to yell like October, or like, you know what I mean, like something that's like the same sort of sound from the very beginning. So the kids can do it really easily because they're just associating sounds with like a picture.
Right.
It is surprisingly difficult for adults to do.
Oh yeah.
Like my mother-in-law's like, and my son just be like, "Pow!" You know what I mean? Like whatever it is. Like he flips over a panda bear and then yells "poo." Like it's so funny because like there's something in your brain when you're an adult. I think maybe you know too much, so it makes it harder for you to
the vocabulary, to
grab a simple word out of your head, whereas a kid can grab a simple word really fast. And so my kids are like surprisingly good at it, and they'll beat us really often. My wife and my mother-in-law and I will sit around and play it with them, and they usually beat our asses because like we're just too slow on the uptake basically.
The other one we do is Monopoly.
See, Monopoly's banned from the house.
Yeah,
we played the card Monopoly, the Monopoly card game, which is a lot of fun.
Right,
but like too many friendships have been ruined over Monopoly.
Right, yeah,
it's a dark game. It takes me to a dark place.
And apparently there's an extended edition.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Monopoly Friend Destroyer Edition.
Yeah.
What, you mean just Monopoly? Oh, yeah, it's just Monopoly.
It's just Monopoly. Just play it longer. It's more money.
That's right.
There's more money in the game.
Friend Destroyer Edition. Every edition of Monopoly. Monopoly's banned from the cottage to the farm. It's too hardcore. We play Carcassonne a lot. Carcassonne's a tile matching game where it's like a worker placement game, so you're placing workers to do things. But at the same time, you're building a city, like a landscape, basically, out of these tiles. And so my son loves it because you're basically just building castles. There's these castle tiles, you have to fit them together to make one. And then if you have one of your workers on the castle, you score points at the end of the game when all the tiles are gone. And so you play until the picture's done, basically. So it's like a puzzle, so he really likes that part of it. And he understands the idea that, like, if I put a guy on this castle, it's my castle. So Carcassonne's another really good one for, like, the family game night. And we do that a lot. Because, like, I find, especially with, like, my kids and how busy we are, it's, like, super important at times for us to, like, sit down with each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we make a point of like always having like a dinner on the weekend where everyone's together. Like we call my mother-in-law over and we try and get everybody like sit around a table and like spend time to like sit together. And that's something I got from my mom. My mom, that was like really important to her that every Sunday night we were all together for dinner.
Right.
You know, like, and that we talked about like, you know, what was going on with us and whatever. And, you know, as a teenager, like you resent it and you kind of like slink your way through it or whatever.
Right.
But as an adult now, I appreciate the fact that like you sometimes need to like slow your life down for a minute and reconnect. And having an excuse like this to do it, you know what I mean? And it's the same with your friends. Like, you can get out of touch. Like, I have no idea what's going on with Steve right now. I haven't talked to Steve in like 6 months, and we really should like just hang out and have a beer or something like that.
Right.
But like, I realize that like sometimes you need an excuse to do that, right? So having like a hobby night or a game night or something, where, like you slow your life down for a minute, and you actually sit back and like, because you and I have spent way more time together since we started just having like a weekly like hobby hangout.
Oh yeah.
And it's because you have to kind of like like almost schedule. Make a point of connecting with folks. Right?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, because otherwise I'll just hang out in my studio space.
Oh, I fucking hate people. I love being by myself.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, like right now, because now that I'm independent and everything like that, I'm actually really, really kind of seeing a really big upside to it right now because my kids, I worked nights, everything like that. I worked all sorts of jobs when they were small, and I never really spent time with them. Yep. And right now,
well, you spend time with them, but it's always time going to somewhere. I mean, it's co-opted by whatever the thing you have to get.
Yeah, done like it wasn't just sitting there and getting to know them,
knowing them, and doing something with them.
Yeah, and I find, especially with my daughter right now, I find because we spend like basically all morning. We talk, and she's she's playing Xbox, whatever, and I'm just drinking my coffee and talking to her and everything like that.
Your day.
And yeah, it's really fantastic, and I'm actually really enjoying this time right now that I can get to know my daughter a lot better because like for a while
you're free to, and you're making a point of it.
Yes, definitely, and my son, I'm there because my son right now works nights, but. I'm still there when he gets up, and we bullshit about this or that. And we usually end up watching a lot of football and stuff like that, and so
catching up on the stuff you both like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. I think that's obviously something that I've benefited from the most doing this in the last 5 years, is I got to be there with my kids all the time. But I think that it extends into all kinds of things. Having an excuse to get together with people that you don't spend enough time with, that you just want to reconnect with, I think it's a natural offshoot of any kind of tabletop gaming, because you have to have a face-to-face interaction. But the face-to-face interaction doesn't have to just be playing a game. You know what I mean? Like I love board game nights, I love hobby nights, but like this is like we're being productive together and accomplishing something together. To me that's just super satisfying. You know what I mean? Like you get to do something that's like a shared task, or a shared sort of like a shared achievement basically when it's all said and done. And I don't know, there's lots of people that I probably should reconnect with that I just haven't seen in too long. And I think that's one of the things I'm going to try and do is just make a point of organizing stuff like this, organizing a painting night, organizing like a hobby hangout. Yeah, I think that's one of the big powers of things like D&D. You know what I mean? Yep. And a lot of people who miss their D&D time, or they miss their D&D nights, I think it's because that's one of the natural like social things they were getting out of it, was they got a chance to connect with their friends and see their friends and spend some quality time.
Well, and I think that's really one of the big pluses of this hobby, is being a lot more social.
Well, you can't not be. Like, you can't say something terrible to each other in a miniature war game and there not be like repercussions. Whereas like there's so many like video game lobbies, people are just hurling insane profanity at each other. And if your girl's playing lots of Xbox right now, I'm sure she hears it. Like I'm sure you hear it probably just like live through the TV.
Yeah.
And it's just insane. Like things you would never say to somebody else in real life.
Definitely.
And like, or I mean, if you did, you definitely learn what having a broken tooth feels like. You know what I mean? Like a split lip or busted nose. Something happened. Where was I the other day? Something happened. I was in Canadian Tire, which is like one of Ontario's, like, you go there. It's a hardware store basically, but it also sells like coffee and like appliances and stuff. Like it's weird. It's really hard to describe Canadian Tire to non-Canadians.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of an everything store, but it's also kind of like, because it's also like an auto shop and like.
Yeah, you can go get your car fixed.
It's a very rural superstore, I guess is what I would say. Like it's like a rural version of Target.
Yeah. Well, it was Canadians or Canada's kind of first big box store.
It was our first big box store. Besides the classics like Woolworths and the Bay, like the Hudson Bay Company,
yeah,
is the first one.
Yeah, and that's really kind of what it was, really.
But anyway, I'm in there, and this kid at the cash, young kid, probably like 16, probably his first job, he gets a nosebleed in front of me, and he doesn't know what to do. He's like, "Oh, I got a nosebleed," and I'm like, "Oh man, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yo, it just started bleeding." I'm like, "Wow, it's really dry because it's been getting cold here. So when the weather gets really dry in Canada, sometimes if you're not used to it, everything gets dry and you get nosebleeds and stuff." But he's just pouring blood. And I was like, "Come on, man, put your head back. And he's like, "I don't know what to do. Am I okay? Do I need to go to a doctor?" And I'm like, "Just put your head back, man. Get some Kleenex and stuff it up there. You're all right." And he's like, "I've never had a nosebleed before." I'm like, "Wait, you never been punched in the face?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "You're 16 years old. You've never been punched in the face before?" It's just it bent my mind for a minute.
Oh,
I was like, "What do you mean you've never been punched in the face before? Yeah. What? Have you ever fallen down before? Like,
do people live?
do people do it? Have you been outside? Is this your first time outside? Like, what's going on?
Does your mom and dad know where you are?"
Anyway, it's just funny because like it like one of those moments where like I just realized I definitely grew up at a different time.
Definitely. Oh yeah, my daughter reminds me all the time that
Well,
Dad, you can't say that anymore. Really, I can't say that anymore.
But I think, but also like I think that like you benefit from that level of social interaction. Like more, I make my kids go outside and do things because I want them to engage in conflict and engage in conversation and not be afraid of strangers. And like there's a real like we're social animals, you know what I mean? But we're not. I honestly don't think the experience of connecting to people online, unless you're doing it in a very like conscious way, like the casual way in which most of us connect with people online, it's a false positive in socialization, because you don't pick up like social cues, you don't pick up like the emotional resonance and how people are standing or looking at you, or like
the only people who can excel in that kind of arena are those with like autism.
Right. That wasn't a component for them necessarily already.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Like somebody with that condition can excel in online interactions, like in a chat room kind of thing, right?
Absolutely, because it's purely it's for the most part they don't have to worry about the cues that they might not be able to pick up socially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, sorry, we shouldn't make a generalization because case by case that might also still be a struggle.
Well, that's just a theory.
It's a generalization. Yeah. But the I think for most people, if they rely on that as like a primary component of how they interact socially, like I only interact via text online, they can end up having anxiety in real face-to-face interactions, because like if you don't have for instance, playing board games with my daughter, she used to, when we first started playing them, she had a real hard time with losing, and she would like straight up like just walk away or flip the board or whatever if she was in a situation where she wasn't about to win. Or she made a mistake, you know what I mean? She really struggled with that. And by playing a lot of board games with her, and even her homework, like getting a mistake, like spelling or whatever, she was very emotionally invested in that in the beginning. And now she just doesn't worry about it. Like she's done it so many times, she's like, "Oh, I made a mistake. Okay." And like she'll go back, or she's like, "Ah, you win. Let's play again." Like it's taken time having those like social interactions, but the more she does them, the more she realizes, oh, it's not, everything isn't binary. I've lost now. I haven't lost forever. I'm going to play again. At some point, I'm going to win. Let's re-rack and start over. I think it's been like really good healthy sort of like mental conditioning for her.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that is not taught, is the fact that, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to lose.
Yeah.
These things are okay.
I think we intellectually teach it. Like we say, like, it's okay to lose, but then we don't let anyone lose.
Right. Right. Well, because like right now, like you see it a lot on the internet. Everybody wants to be fucking right.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
what the hell?
True. Yeah. Everyone wants to be right, and there's not a lot of effort being made. I notice and this exists in the hobby too. If we just keep this in the hobby arena, which I think we should, because this is a political show. But if we just keep this in the hobby arena, the whole idea of like there's a right and wrong way of hobbying,
yes,
is something that people are entrenched in. But no one wants to convince anyone else of why they have that belief for the most part. They just want to tell the person that they're wrong. And so there's no because like I like pretty much all aspects of the hobby. And what happens is usually when I get burned out on one, I will flip over to another one to try it out.
Right.
And at times in my life, I've enjoyed certain things sort of in ascendancy. Like I really like playing competitively at one point. now I really like doing projects, and I've got a nostalgia bug right now, so I really enjoy looking backwards. But my way of doing the hobby isn't the correct one. The correct way of doing the hobby is whatever way of the hobby you enjoy the most. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be different, individualistic for everyone. And the important thing is not to try and be on the winning side of the hobby, because there isn't one.
Right.
If you're having a good time in the hobby, you're winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need to tell somebody else that they're doing it wrong. And it baffles me that people take the time to even say you're doing it wrong. And that comes back to that whole mental glitch I had when I was like watching someone play Unpainted, and how my knee-jerk reaction was, what are these people doing? They're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
And over time I'm like, no, they're not. They're just doing the part they like. They're playing games. Like that's perfectly acceptable. And it's not how I would do it, or how in my brain I thought it was supposed to be done. But that doesn't make it wrong, right? Like I didn't walk over the table and be like, "You idiots, what are you doing?" Like I didn't go over like my 11-year-old self, like in my pillar of self-righteousness, go and lambaste them and tell them that they were like incorrectly throwing a vortex grenade with their polymorphine assassin that was actually an orc boy because they didn't have the miniature or whatever. It's a different I think like way of approaching problems. If you try and find common ground with people, you end up not trying. You might end up getting them to enjoy something that's different. Versus if you just tell them they're doing it wrong, you're never gonna get them on your side.
Right. No.
Right. Like you don't make anyone listen to you or understand you by being like, fuck off, you're wrong. Whereas someone might try something they never tried before if you encourage them or try and explain the value or whatever.
Well, I see it a lot in painting.
I bet.
Now, there are some minor things where there's a right way and there's a wrong way. But
technical wise, yeah, probably. Technique wise,
but overall, no. And the big one that is, and I'm sure everybody out there will recognize this, is when it comes to painting their models and they're, they get so hung up. Well, what am I going to do? What color am I going to do? Like, should I do this? Should I do that? Like, can I make up my own chapter? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just, they're your models. You bought them. You do whatever you want with them. This is your time. And,
there's a decision paralysis.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And, I'm not sure what that is. Like,
well, I think it comes back to that whole idea of hobby heroes. So like, give you an example. In our time, in the long ago before the boomy booms, the idea of like who was hobbying correctly was pretty simple, because we didn't have any hobby heroes to go by that weren't printed in White Dwarf magazine. Right. So what we saw printed in White Dwarf magazine or in Dragon magazine, if you're a D&D player, or in whatever, I don't remember what the Magic the Gathering magazine was, Card Flopper or something. It was Duelist. That's what it was. It was Duelist. And also, everyone listening to this, it's like under 20. It's like, what the fuck's a magazine?
Yeah.
but that's who we had to identify with as doing it correctly. Whereas today, you have this huge like selection of people for painting, for playing games, for hobbying, that you can look at and go, oh, I like the way that guy's doing that. You know what I mean? And it projects itself as being the right way of doing it. So if you see like, I don't know, a YouTube channel with like people playing competitively, that's what you think the right way of hobbying is, right? If you see a person that's painting and they're always using an airbrush, you're like, oh, if you're not using an airbrush, you're dumb. Like, why are you not using an airbrush? And I think that's just the newest iteration of people having this like concept of what's right and wrong in their personal hobby. It's not what they've experienced yet, usually, because they're probably still informing their opinions at the time. It's what they see. It's what's projected out there to them.
Right. And
so you have this almost self-fulfilling prophecy of, guy gets in the hobby for the first time. Guy goes onto YouTube and watches a bunch of people play, and the top of his playlist when he puts in Warhammer 40,000 is ITC this, ITC that. And he goes, oh, well, the ITC must be the correct way of playing Warhammer 40K. Yeah. And so he goes to like, I don't know, where do kids go to talk about Warhammer now? Facebook, probably. Not forums.
Not Facebook.
That's an old person thing now.
Facebook's an old person thing now.
Is it Facebook?
Yeah, my kids don't use
Discord?
Facebook.
Discord, maybe?
Discord.
Finds like a 40K Discord.
Yeah, but people.
It's so funny. It's so funny because there's so many mediums now, and whatever the hot new one is, he's got his WeChat app or his WhatsApp chat room or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever venue they go to. And they'll have some presuppositions, basically, of what the right and wrong way of doing it is. And then those get cemented probably based on further experiences. So, like, oh, this was So this like solo hobby time that I'm having on the internet, when I went from not knowing anything to knowing something, the thing I see the most is the one I'm probably going to identify as being the right or wrong way. And that might vary based on your personality type too. If you're like the outsider personality type where you're like, I want to find out where like the most punk rock way of doing this is, it's going to be like, oh, I'm just going to dive directly into like, I don't know, Inquisimunda or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to do like dark iOS 28 and you just jump right into the deep end.
Well, and that's the thing is that like I had the buddy who was was our guy. He was the cool guy. Yeah, he didn't go into second edition 40K because it lost the grim dark.
It wasn't Rogue Trader enough.
It wasn't dark enough.
Didn't have Tyrannosaurus Rex eating your car keys.
No, didn't have any of that. It was too.
Byron Jubal gun.
He said it was too Fisher Price. Second edition was too
Fisher Price.
Yeah,
too Fisher Price.
Because all the bright bold colors, the cards, the gear was all on cards. The missions were just, shuffle them. Here we go, and
Fifth edition fantasy was like that too. It had like troll slayers chasing goblins in the margin, and like it was a little bit goofy. You know what I mean? Around the same time, basically, fourth and fifth edition Warhammer.
Yeah,
it was a little bit goofy, and it wasn't really until because I think there was an era probably in the studio back then where they were like, we need to make this a little more kid friendly. Like we're getting kind of popular, but there's like a barrier to entry where 11-year-old Ash wasn't able to buy that book at the comic book store because he was afraid his mom was going to be like, "Are you joining a cult?"
Well, and that's the thing too is that it's like our artwork has changed, especially from Game
But
Workshop.
it's gone back and forth too.
Yeah, because there was
like
boobies,
edition,
no boobies,
right.
no boobies.
And then 6th edition Warhammer went back to the dark pen and ink, black and white. Not a lot of like color art. It wasn't quite as like as He-Man Master of the Universe, like bright colors and craziness, and it was a lot more like, oh, there's a troll puking on that guy in that picture, and that guy's fucking melting. There's a guy in the background whose skin is falling off. This shit's dark.
Yeah.
You went to a lot of like that Alex Boyd, like pencil and inks, and like just a really like.
Well, like the original Realm
Interesting
of Chaos books. The Demonettes, they're sitting there lopping people's heads off. There's boobies all over the place, and she's drinking the blood.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, Ian Miller, Scary Trees, and like all that stuff.
It's the tree. It's got the big Mr. Burns nose.
That's right. Yeah, Tree of Lost Souls. It's funny. I was having lunch with John Blanche at a games day. Oh Jesus, like 2011, like 8 or 9 years ago, and his son was there because they're taking him to the aquarium in Baltimore, and I mentioned that because I was having him sign my buddy Christian, who was on last week's Rat Spike, which is a John Blanche Ian Miller art book. And I was like, and I love Ian Miller stuff because he has such a distinctive way of drawing. Like you could always tell an Ian Miller tree because it was this like scraggly, like leafless, weird tree. Like all of his fighting fantasy stuff was the same way. And he looks at his son and he goes, "Oh yeah, the tree that's in my living room." that drawing. And I'm like, "That's in your living room." Like blew my mind. I was like, because obviously he knew Ian Miller and like they were probably friends. And he had this giant drawing of Ian Miller's Tree of Lost Souls in his living room. I had this momentary because you feel normal just sitting and talking with people, and then you're like, oh my god, you're John Blanche. What am I doing? Why am I even talking to you? I'm not even worthy. What is happening? It's funny too. He doodled the whole time. He was such an interesting guy to sit and talk to because like anytime he was sitting still, he was drawing. He always had like a little pad and pen.
Oh, that's a good habit.
Yeah, really good habit. It was really neat. I think there's a really interesting like lesson there though. I think in that if you're shouting across the aisle, you're never going to get to experience something. You're never going to experience what the other side of the aisle is doing. And I do find that's kind of an unfortunate reality right now. I've never been a person that closes myself off from trying something new. You know what I mean? Like even if I don't like it after the first try, I'd be like, I tried it though. I understand why someone else might enjoy this. I don't personally enjoy it that much, but I understand why somebody else could enjoy this. I got that with building miniatures. I have friends who just fucking love building miniatures. They love it. It's like their favorite thing ever. They love like putting stuff together. Actually, one of their biggest complaints in the last 10 years is they still love building kits, but a lot of the kits come with less and less options. And so they don't get to imprint themselves on it as much anymore. You know what I mean? Because things are build one way, or they're designed by computers. So they go together in a weird way. And there's a little bit they have to go out of their way into their old bits box now to find the pieces to customize something. And that's kind of pulled a bit of the window of their sales as far as doing the part of the hobby they like best.
Right.
For me, I'm so glad you're here right now because I've been putting off building all of this shit for so long because it's just tedious to me. Like, I hate doing it. I need someone here to be part of the process. So I'm not just concentrating on how much I hate doing this.
Well, that's
cleaning another mold line. Cleaning another mold line.
I started off in this hobby assembling, model kits.
Yeah,
I did
Star traditional Trek model kits. Yep.
Yeah, like tanks and
the old
cars.
You know what I found in my storage unit last week? Just sorry to distract you for a second. I found the old Aliens Halcyon APC.
Oh wow!
In a box.
That's cool.
Like still in its box. I was like, I wonder how much money this is worth. This is a piece of movie history. It's old as fuck.
Yeah.
This Halcyon doesn't even exist anymore. They did all those big 12-inch movie figures and stuff. Because you used to do those too, didn't you? We talked about that during our painting episode. You did those big 12-inch like comic book figures and stuff and movie figures.
Yeah.
What was your first figure again? I can't remember. You told me, I think, back then. It was like a Wolfman or like a... Are you really scoring for plastic glue?
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
No.
It's plastic glue. It's going to weld.
Yeah, but when you're scoring it, it melts into the surface.
I love you so much. I love that you're doing that. It blows my mind, but I love that you're doing that. But like...
This is how I assemble
I know.
model.
It's so funny. It's funny because Chris used to pin plastic models that also blow my mind. He like pin the wrist on plastic models. It just makes me laugh.
This
awesome.
is when this cures. This is going to be unbreakable
forever. You're right. You're making forever stuff. You're not doing super glue. You're doing what cement are you using? You're using Testors Model Master. Yeah. I'm using the Tamiya stuff. It's basically the same.
I've got
It's
the same. Yeah, it's essentially the same.
Different brands.
Yeah, it's all acetone.
Coke and Pepsi.
If I had a big jar of acetone, that would...
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, we'd also be goofy as fuck by now if you had a big jar of acetone open in here.
Remember that time I was spraying
alcohol?
Turpentine.
Turpentine. Friggin' turpentine in the office. Chris and I are in like a 75 square foot office together.
Yeah.
Back to back, smaller than in here. And he's cleaning his airbrush by spraying friggin' turpentine through it. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm like, Chris, I'm drunk. You have to stop. We're like sitting there fucking huffing turpentine in the fucking office for like 2 days. Oh my God, the office smelled like turpentine for like a week too. Yeah. So gross. That's when you're old school. When no mask, no nothing. It's like those old contractors whose hands are like leather mitts. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I'm gonna use the car body fill primer, and like you're not supposed to touch it with your bare hands. He just sticks his hand on top, like wipes it on the car, and you're like, what are you doing?
Using Bondo like that.
Yeah, Bondo with his finger. You're like, your hand is gonna melt. With He's like, kids these days. Yeah. I can feel your blood turning into poisons that transfers through your bloodstream. Yeah. No, you kids these days are weak. But like it's funny because I really think that there's some value in trying things, and so it makes me really sad to see these fights happen online. I usually just stay out of them because like I would be the person in between two people shouting at each other in that argument. You know what I mean? Like I would be the person standing in between two people arguing who don't want to hear each other, trying to get the other person to listen to what the other person's saying. And it's so like that's so tiresome. It's one of the reasons I don't really interact a lot on social media.
Right.
Like I'll comment on like my posts and I'll always answer questions and talk to people who want to talk to me. But it's more like I don't actively go to a group and look for a topic to go talk about. Right. Because inevitably I'm the person standing in between two opposing opinions trying to like get people to be like, why don't we both try what everyone's doing? You know what I mean? Like why can't everyone's opinion, not that everyone's opinion is right, because that's not the way opinions work. But like why can't people see why someone else might value something? You know what I mean? The other person isn't intrinsically wrong because they don't agree with you. And it feels like more and more that's the signal, man. That's what's out there, and it's hard to hear anything else. And it's really depressing. And video games, it's just everywhere. Like, and not just that. I mean, there's stuff in like video game culture, and I'm sure again you've heard this through your Xbox. Like, that's just horrifying. Like,
the toxicity.
Toxicity. People saying terrible shit to each other.
Oh yeah. I've caught my kids.
Really
doing that kind of shit.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How'd you handle that?
They lost the Xbox.
That's funny. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's probably what you'd have to do. Like, just be like, nope.
Oh, and
not doing it.
Yeah, when they keep fucking up too, eventually it comes to the point where I change the Wi-Fi password. And,
really?
Oh, wow. I lock the router out.
I love it.
I go into the parental functions where I go in and I lock their device out.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it's good to, if you're a parent and you have kids and everybody's on devices, because everybody is.
Yeah.
Master your router, because kicking out their device and blocking their device it saves you
Ultimate
so much.
punishment.
Yeah, it saves you so much
You
headache.
sent them to purgatory.
Yep.
That
Exactly.
makes me laugh. You just sent them directly to purgatory.
But if you have bullheaded kids, well, then you got a steeper hill to climb. But
Below-headed kids?
because my kids are stubborn as shit.
I remember
My daughter is stubborn as shit.
I remember the last time you went, not the last time you went home, like 2 or 3 times ago when you went home to see your family. And I was like, so what's it like back at the zoo? Like, how's your family? He's like, well, my last name's Belleau, so it's real fucking loud. Well, could you imagine like what a room full of bellows is like?
Yeah.
It's really loud.
Oh yeah.
I'll never forget that.
It's a sight to behold.
It's a sight to behold.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. That's really funny. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's funny because I think that you lose some people to that too. The people that just want to like, that want to get information or see people enjoying things and enjoy it with them. People get driven away by that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
It's definitely driven me out of like the competitive community. Several competitive communities. I'm just like, nah, I don't even pay attention anymore.
I enjoy competitive play, but I don't. I used to be kind of serious about it, but these days, in the last probably 15 years or so,
You're pretty serious about War Machine for a little bit.
War Machine, yeah. Well, because War Machine had like that.
You guys were hot and heavy into it when you were working though for a while. There was like when their store was still open and you were playing all the time. Like it was pretty. There's a pretty big community around here.
Yeah, it was a good community around here, and everybody was pretty darn competitive about it. But I mean, that was the kind of mindset that game bred.
You know what's funny though? You were all competitive, but you were competitive locally with each other, which I find interesting. You were competitive all in the same room.
Yeah.
Not through the internet. You know what I mean? Which I find there's a difference there in how that interaction goes when you're being competitive, but like you're also having to like socially interact with people. You know what I mean? Like you're having to stand across the table and be competitive.
Yeah. And that's when my son got into it because my son he's a football guy. He likes competition, you know, and
hanging out with dad.
And hanging out with dad and. You know, we had fun. And second edition?
Break it?
No.
Mark II War Machine?
Yeah, Mark II War
Mark
Machine.
II. Yeah, it would have been Mark II.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was a good edition.
It was fun.
It was a good edition,
you know,
for sure.
You didn't have to buy a whole lot of models to enjoy a game. And
that kind of your painterly side probably enjoyed that too. You could spend some time making stuff that's nice.
I still have all my shit. I can't get rid of it.
Well,
it's like herpes.
I have so much Painted War Machine stuff, it's ridiculous. And again, you cannot get rid of Painted War Machine stuff at all. It's funny because that is one of the things that not having a painting requirement in any of your events has created with the War Machine market.
Yeah.
Is the miniatures they haven't retained any value at all.
Yeah.
I see people on the trade groups trying to sell like $2,000 worth of like miniatures, maybe not painted, but for like, I'll take $100. I'll take $200. And it doesn't sell. Like it just sits there forever. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy because if it's not whatever, like, people want to just own whatever the top current meta stuff is.
Right.
And the rest of it is just considered trash. So, like, you would take it if it was part of a bundle of maybe the things you wanted. But I only want to pay for the stuff I want. So, like, if you have $2,000 worth of Scorn, but I really only want these X or Y units, I'll pay for those. But I guess I'll take it if I can take it. But, like, it doesn't have any value. So, like, I don't want it. You know what I mean? And the trading groups are just flooded with that stuff.
Yeah, I think, like, fortunately, 40K has not really fallen to that. It was probably getting pretty close when our boys was still around, but, you know, thankfully it never did fall to that kind of full-on competition. Yeah. And I kind of stopped giving a shit about 40K competition when I realized that it's pointless. Competition, like 40K competition, because there's so much random elements to the game that actual strategy, you know, has little bearing. It's really just about what you're bringing. Well, the difference is,
it's more about what you picked to bring than what you did when you brought it.
Right.
And there is still going to be a you have to play it right thing, but like
play the scenario.
A lot of what you do in 40K, you're right, is based more upon what you're bringing than how you're using it.
Yeah.
And there are certain armies that, like, no matter how well you play it, if someone brings like a top tier whatever list, you don't have a chance. Like, there's just nothing you can do. I have this argument actually about points, and I don't think points are really a super valid measurement system in 40K anymore, because if they were, then it wouldn't matter what you took. Equal point values be equal point values, but it's just not the case. There's too much rock, paper, scissors that if you bring too many rocks, too many papers, and so it shows up with whatever is not your thing, then you're just going to get dumpstered. And so there's like a level of like... There's a level of like, I don't want to keep up with that anymore.
Right. And yeah, and I don't. I play for fun because I like going to tournaments because it's, you know, it's a day to get just a bunch of gaming in. And
Play 4 games in a day.
You know.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, because I mean, like a lot of times, like I'm busy with other shit and taking a day off to just play some 40K and just scratch that itch.
Yeah. And it kind of fills you up for the day.
And it fills me up. And it reminds me, oh yeah, all these freaking guys take this way too damn seriously. You know? But that's fine. You know.
If that's your thing, that's your thing.
Yeah.
More serious than you, I guess. Not too damn serious. Just more serious
because I mean, as soon as I fall out of love with this, then, you know, I'm chasing girls, so. You know.
Keep on straight and narrow. It was not for Warhammer. Keep on straight and narrow.
Yeah, you know, I only have two things.
There's only 2 modes of Kris. That's fair.
That's it.
We gotta stay in the Warhammer mode at least until the kids are off to college.
Exactly.
The mindset of like of doing that thing though that kind of like that gets you back on track for enjoying something though I think is important. I do go to like 2 or 3 tournaments a year, and just play games because I think that like it's worth playing a bunch of games off camera for me. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, and the same thing goes with something like this, like doing a project where it's just because I enjoy it. It's just because I want to do it. And I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm actually going pretty well right now. I'm at 8 Skaven, 8 Goblins, and 3 Heroes. I'm gonna take some pictures so you guys can see them. So this is what I've been doing so far. Here's what I got built. And it's really funny because these heroes actually aren't the ones on the back of the box set. They put the Talisman heroes in the back of the box set. So the Talisman, Barbarian, Elf, Dwarf, and Wizard are on the back of this box. But then in the box, you get these actual like quest dudes.
I'm wondering if that maybe production photos. Maybe they didn't have.
It would just be that's all it was. Is they did the photography before they were finished the plastics because it would take forever to do the plastics at the time. I'm gonna build a Minotaur now, and you do get 3 Minotaurs in here, which is pretty awesome.
Is it the big?
It's the big plastic ones. And then they have different weapons. So 2 of the Minotaurs have clubs and 1 has a big axe. And I think in some scenarios he's like a bigger he's like a Doom Bull or something like that. But I'm excited to paint these too. I'm gonna put so the Minotaurs actually didn't come supplied with bases. Neither did the rats, the snotlings, or the bats because they were designed to be on individuals, and these were all swarms in Warhammer, so they didn't want you to make them into swarms. So they precast little. I'll show you guys. I'll take a picture. They precast little feet on them, and the Minotaur has one too. But I'm gonna put them on 40s. So if I decide I want to use them in skirmish or something, I can because it won't make any difference. I'll put them on a 40. Yeah, let's take a look at this. There we go. You can see this is all on like they have like their own little like weird base tabs. So you could base them up if you wanted to, and so does the Minotaur.
Yeah.
So it's like crazy like base tab.
So I still have my Minotaur. I think he's in my Talisman box, and I think I put him on a square base.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm just gonna do that with the Minotaurs. I think because the rest of it would normally be a fantasy swarm. I'm gonna leave it off because I gotta build some orcs. There's some orc boys in here. And I gotta clean all the crazy archways and stuff as well, which is pretty awesome. I love these archways. I love that they gave you a physical plastic component to link all of the dungeon tiles with. Now, the one thing that's gonna be funny when we film this is when we play Talisman. Talisman was one of those games. It was one of the first games of its type where you could accidentally take the game off the table.
Yeah.
Because what happens is it would build procedurally using a deck of cards. One of my favorite ways ever to do a dungeon crawler, and everything that came after it, whether it was Descent or any of these like dungeon crawl quest games where you build the dungeon as you go, basically riffed off of Talisman for doing it. They use a deck of cards.
Warhammer Quest.
Warhammer Quest for doing it, yeah. Because you didn't have a fixed board like you did in Hero Quest or in Talisman. And these models hold up pretty well, man. This plastic Minotaur is pretty cool. His pose is really flat because he's coming out of a flat steel die.
Yeah.
But he's still pretty awesome. I'm pretty into him. And it's funny how well these plastics paint up. You know what I'm painting right now? I haven't finished them on the paint table yet. She knows, right? I found my psychostyrene dwarves, elves, orcs, and Skaven. So like the original white plastic fantasy miniatures.
Yeah.
I got a couple of Psychostyrene dwarves to paint up right now that I'm doing, and I might do some dark elves too. Psychostyrene, back when like the whole idea of doing a miniature in plastic was basically like the greatest of heresies. Because there was a fight even just over having plastic bases.
Right.
People were like, if I'm paying for the metal, you're not stealing the metal out of the base. Because that's like that was what people thought they were paying for. They're like, how much white metal am I paying for? You're ripping me off. You're stealing some of that sweet white metal that I'm getting when I buy my miniatures. And it's like, it's not really what you're paying for. You're paying for an artist that sculpted this. No, you're stealing my stuff. And so there's a huge like fight. And it was the Slotta schism when people didn't want to go to Slotta bases. And then when people went to plastics, it was an even bigger deal because it was like, why am I even buying this plastic garbage? It's just garbage. It's trash. It's like, well, no, it's still miniatures. Those are still toy soldiers you're buying. They're not trash. It's garbage. So even back in the day before the internet, people still complained.
Yep.
People loved to complain about everything. They would just actually physically write down their complaints on a piece of paper, put it inside another piece of paper wrapped around it, write an address on it, and then put it in a box where another human being would have to carry it to the person they were yelling at. It's when you explain it that way, it takes on a whole new like layer of insanity. I was trying to explain dialing a phone to somebody the other day. So what would happen is you would spin a wheel that would create sparks that would go through a wire as electricity that would connect to another person's sparks, which would ring a bell. People were like, are you high? What's going on? Like, what are you even talking about?
Well, have you seen that video of two teenagers trying to work a rotary phone?
No.
The father's tells them to dial this number.
Okay.
And the kids can't work the rotary phone.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're like, okay.
That sounds like the exact kind of thing that would amuse me.
It's like watching, the opening of 2001.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, my grandfather would have called two dogs trying to fuck a football.
Yeah. That's what this video looks like.
It never goes well.
And it's not like these kids are, dim or anything like that.
Right.
They're just normal kids. And they're having a hard time. Because I mean, like,
a real hard time. It's not self-explanatory at all.
It's antiquated technology.
Yeah.
I was actually antiquing last week.
You were antiquing?
Yeah.
You
getting old.
Fancy bitch. I love it.
There was this old phone, and even I was like, wait, which end do I talk? Do I put this end up? No. What is it? What do they do in the movies? Oh yeah, okay, it's like this.
You're talking to the handpiece, and you put the thing on your ear.
And so
one's the speaker, the other one's the receiver.
It was that two handset thing, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome. It was a rotary phone with like a separate handpiece.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, the earpiece. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Old school. Yeah. You are really old though.
I am.
Kind of gross.
Yeah. My kids remind me all the time.
All the time.
My ideas are antiquated.
That's right. When I wake up in the morning, my son likes to just walk and be like, "Dad, you're old and gross." And they just leave.
No, that's Dad. You can't say that anymore. Really, I can't say that. All right.
I don't love what you just said. I don't love how I'm feeling about this.
Yeah. My daughter is. She'll do that all the time.
Really?
No, Dad. Oh, Dad, you can't. No, Dad.
You can't do that.
Yeah. No, Dad, that's wrong. Is it wrong?
Is it wrong to tell people that they're bad drivers?
Yeah.
Is it wrong to tell people that they're dumb?
Oh yeah.
Don't be dumb. Just don't be dumb. It's easy to do it. Yeah, I had a fight with my kid's school this week that was kind of like that, or 2 weeks ago it was kind of like that. So they didn't clear the snow because, and this is, I don't think this is true, but they didn't clear the snow in the parking lot or the walkways after we had probably about a foot of snow. That was bad enough because people are slipping, sliding. It's hard to get the kids in or whatever. And then it warms up like 2 days later, and all that snow melts down to a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
Because they still didn't bother shoveling. They never shoveled it for like 3 days. And so now everything's a giant sheet of ice. And I spent like pickup with my son basically, helping a bunch of like mothers and like elderly people who had to pick up the grandkids or whatever across this incredibly dangerous sheet of ice that the playground had turned into, and back. Now the entranceway to the office had been shoveled. But neither the kindergarten pickup area or the backyard where all the other kids kids in elementary schools because about grade 8 get released was actually ever shoveled. And it was super dangerous. And The reason I immediately went to like blackout rage, which is like where like I am really slow to get mad. I'm not a person that gets mad normally like very quickly.
Oh, I'm top of the hat.
You are definitely, you are 0 to 100. But I went like instantly just to like DEFCON 1. Like I was so angry. Was because this had happened every time it snowed the previous 2 years that we'd had kids at that school. So like. They tried to feed us a line. It's like, oh, yeah, our contract, we lost our contract with our snow clearance people like the night before and it couldn't get done. And I'm like, but it's 3 days later and it's still not cleared. Oh, we're not allowed to clear it ourselves because of insurance purposes. And I'm like, so like you create a huge insurance liability, but then you don't want to accept any personal liability to keep people safe. I'm like, none of what you're saying makes sense to me. Like literally none of this makes sense. And also if your clearance company canceled, then like, why was this like this for 2 previous years? Like this is the 3rd year that I'm coming in here and talking about. I literally bought salt for the kindergarten teachers, and like just gave it to them. I was like, just put the salt out, like please. Put the salt. Like, we're not allowed to use salt. We have to use like the blue ice melt. And I'm like, I don't care. Like I don't care what you have to use. Put this down. Like people are gonna get hurt. Yeah. And teachers fell down. My kids fell down. Like all kinds of people got hurt last year. One teacher got a concussion. Like Jesus. It was bad. Anyway, but like I went from like 0 to complete blackout rage, and like to me it's that level of like, well, we don't want to do anything because we might get in trouble, but also no one's gonna do anything because there could be just you do it because it's the right thing to do. You go and shovel the driveway, and then when people ask you to shovel the driveway, you say the people we paid, like the people we paid to shovel the driveway, people who work here. Who is that? People who worked here. That just keeps us safe. Yeah. And like oh my god, I was so mad because like to me, I was ready to just like start like a shovel brigade and go out there and do it myself, and get a bunch of parents to go do it. And I mean I wasn't the only one who was mad. But I got very like fight the power. I was handing out like message slips and
I don't think people. Public shaming works anymore.
Well, the problem is, I think people are afraid that you shame. So there's people that are honestly, you can make the mistake of doing that to the wrong person. And I don't believe in a lynch mob at all. I 100% don't believe in that. But I also don't believe in apathy. You know what I mean? So like, I don't believe in leaving something because it's somebody else's responsibility to take care of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't get into hobby arguments. I just don't actually. It's one of the reasons why I don't go and look into hobby groups anymore, really, on Facebook or on YouTube, because I know I'll get drawn into it. If someone's attacking somebody or saying something wrong, I hate the idea of something just being left there that's not right, and I know I'll get dragged into it. Right. But like I don't think that public shaming, while it has an effect, I don't think it ever has the effect that people want it to have, where it corrects people's behavior. You know what I mean? Because what you want to do is you want to stop the next person that might do that from doing that usually. Well, and also hopefully correct the behavior of the person that did it.
Usually people who can experience shame, right, that'll work.
Well, if people can experience shame, they won't, like, they're already feeling ashamed usually. Right. Unless they're ignorant. You know what I mean? Like,
right, but some people are just plain old clueless. They're not bad people. They're just plain old clueless. Yeah.
But I think that it's such a slippery slope because you might accidentally public shame someone that was utterly clueless, where maybe that shouldn't have been a public shaming. That's what I'm talking about. Is those clueless people, you want to probably try and correct them in private versus, just like throwing the rope over the tree and getting ready to lynch them. Like that's not the same thing.
But somebody like that, I mean, this is all hypotheticals, of course. But,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like somebody taking you aside, I mean, like that can also lead to a conflict as well.
100%. Yeah, but I think then you get the benefit of the doubt of was this a mistake made in ignorance versus was it something that was done on purpose?
Right.
And I do believe that there is a time and a place to hold someone accountable publicly and say like, no, this is wrong. This is not how we behave. You know what I mean? As people who are trying to grow everyone together and be a mutually supportive human culture. But at the same time, I think that there's like steps that you take on the way to that maybe don't get taken anymore. Yeah. And maybe just like we've just decided to skip right to like the lynch mob. And
skipping right to the lynch mob, that seems to be pretty much the culture of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it, right? Like it's the idea of like you're never going to get it right. So just hang them all, let God sort them out.
Yeah.
And I just think we live in a very complicated world where no one has all the information ever, and you have to be judicious in the use of that level of like I guess like response. You know what I mean? Because if you're not careful, you will always end up having a margin of error. You know what I mean? Where the wrong people get attacked, the wrong people get lumped in. And some people argue that's worth it, and that's okay. Like, I mean, that's their opinion too, and I'm fine with that. But at the same time, like, I'm not gonna ever run a tournament, for instance. It's just like unpainted models will be broken with a hammer. You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm gonna destroy them all with a hammer. First unpainted model I see, we're gonna get a giant anvil. I'm gonna heat the hammer to 3,000 degrees with a blowtorch, and I'm gonna melt and smash it at the same time as my hammer comes down. Yeah. I'm gonna film it on a high-speed camera so I can live stream it in slow motion on YouTube and take questions and let all the commenters like tell that person how terrible they were for having an unpainted miniature in my tournament or whatever. Obviously that's hyperbole, but like
that'd be cool to see though.
It's pretty fun actually, yeah. So now we have to try and do that as our next Mythbusters. Can we melt and smash a miniature at the same time with a 3,000 degree hammer? Let's just see if we can do it. Let's just see if we can do it. We'll get the forged guys to do it or something like that. Yeah. And we'll get all high-speed camera. Get like an old like bad plastic miniature and try and smush and melt it at the same time. What will happen first? Will it turn into a puddle or will it like flash vaporize into steam?
I can't get this out of my head now.
Oh my God. This happens all the time. When we work together, I would say something completely idiotic and he would take it for like, I have to do this now.
That sounds like fun.
It's a good thing we didn't know each other when we were teenagers because we would have fucking died.
Oh,
like,
we'd be dead.
We'd be dead.
Yeah, there's a universe out there where we knew each other.
There's another reality.
Yeah.
And we're both in jail. No, we both had a hail of bullets when like the Pacific Riders came after us. Yeah. It ended like Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, guaranteed. There's all went horribly wrong. It's Bush and Sundance thing.
In one of the timelines, yeah, that's what happened.
In one of the darker timelines. Because I do think that this is the darkest timeline. I'm pretty sure we live in the darkest timeline.
I am sporting a goatee.
I shave my beard, and my daughter is so mad at me. She's so mad that I shave my beard because it was just getting really long. And so it was getting to the point where like literally my mustache was getting in my mouth when I'm eating.
Right.
And I mean, like I can't eat pizza without like having like a bajillion things come off of my beard. And I'm like, oh man. So I got my clippers and I just trim my beard back down to like, you know, like a number 2 or something like that, like something short is gonna grow out again. And when I came, it's funny because I got 2 new pairs of glasses at the same time. And so I guess when I came home, I looked really different. And my daughter was like,
she couldn't deal with it all.
Oh yeah, like completely. And like she literally told me this morning again. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I shaved. She was like, Daddy, I really want you to not look like this. And I'm like, so I always mess with her. I'm like, am I too handsome now? Like, what's wrong? And she's like, you're a little bit too handsome. You need to look like my old daddy. And I'm like, I am your old daddy, first of all. Yeah, it totally messed her up when I had the beard. And it's funny because I went to get my hair cut like a little while after that. And I walked in and I've got this like weird, you know, like when you get like a weird thing where like something happens a bunch of times in a row and you feel like it's a streak and you want to keep it going. Yeah. I had the same girl cut my hair at like the barbershop for like 7 straight trips. So like if I get my hair cut like every month, it's like 7 months basically we've gone in a row where she's cut my hair. And she does a great job and like we get along, so like it's been fine. But then usually she jumps at like it's funny because we joke about it. It's like she's clearly trying to keep the streak going now too, because she'll trade whoever's next in line for somebody else to cut my hair again, and she clearly did not recognize me at all. And it wasn't until I sat down, somebody else, and I just played it up. I was like, let's see if she knows this. And I just sat down and some other girl started cutting my hair, and then I started talking to her and she's like, Ash? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what? And she like clearly didn't know who I was. So I guess I do look very different with having not like a homeless guy beard and wearing glasses for the first time in like, oh geez, it's been like almost 20 years. Well, 20 years.
It was last week. Yeah, you came to the door and you had your glasses on. I was,
who's this guy? So what happened was, actually, I don't think I've actually acknowledged this. It's weird because I have just started wearing glasses again. I've been wearing contacts for like 20 years, mostly just because I do sports and because I like being outside, and I have to wear sunglasses a lot when I'm outside because my eyes are so light I get headaches. if it's too glary out or the sun's too bright, my eyes are just really light sensitive, and like I'll get like a really like a bad headache for being outside. So I'm always wearing my risky business sunglasses when I'm not like when I'm driving the car or when I'm going outside and hiking or whatever. And so what's happened is over 20 years, apparently you can build up protein. I'm not wearing dailies. I'm wearing like monthly contacts. You can build up protein in your eye because your contacts are made out of protein, and your body doesn't know it's not its protein.
Give you some protein.
You couldn't not say that, could you?
No, I could not. Anyway, okay, so go on. You start. Beta protein. Go.
So anyway, what happens is under your eye, like underneath your eyelid, thinks that it's interacting with stuff from your own body. And so what happened was these ridges of protein were building up under my eyelid and making like literally like little like sharp objects. And so my left eye had been bugging me for a while. It kept feeling like it was like it was like really dry. It would just get like red and itchy. And so I got an optometrist, and he's like, "No, you're just basically cutting your own eye open with like the stuff growing under your eyelid." And so he gave me some antibiotics, and he's like, "You're gonna have to start wearing glasses again, man, because like you just don't you're gonna mess up your eye, and you have to be out of contacts for at least a month." And we can go to dailies because apparently with dailies, the protein buildup, you just throw them out every day, so you don't get it anymore.
Right.
So I have to switch over to like daily contacts or something like that when I go back to contacts. But he's like, "No, you have to get some glasses." So I was like, "Okay." And for the first time in like 20 years, I'm wearing glasses again. The eyes aren't. I mean, I've been just seen for distance, really. But like, it's funny. I wore glasses and then I wore contacts for 20 years, and I didn't ever feel like a guy who was wearing glasses because I just wear the ones I wear for like 16 hours and take them out. And now I'm back to wearing glasses again. And apparently, for some people, that's a really big deal because I look really different wearing glasses. I got my Jeff Goldblum glasses on. But you wear glasses like the whole time I've known you. Do you have like prescription sunglasses? Because that's one of the things I'm probably gonna have to get.
No, I don't have prescription sunglasses. I usually just go with contacts.
Nice.
In the summertime or
in the summertime, yeah.
When I'm feeling fancy.
When you feeling fancy, feeling like looking a little more dapper.
Yeah, but otherwise, no, I don't bother. Because
I did notice though. One of the things I did notice was my prescriptions changed a little bit. So I got like that vertigo, and then when I was wearing, because I have the other ones, the horn rim ones that I have too. And when I put those on, because my peripheral vision's a lot smaller, all of a sudden, because it's a smaller frame, right? So like there's less me looking through. I got like straight up like I'm on a boat, like nauseous. Like it took me like a week to get used to them.
Right.
Because I went from not having any peripheral like distortion to like all of a sudden looking through glasses again, and like it was like I'd worn glasses for the first time. It was like I'd never worn glasses before. I thought I was gonna fall down. I was like drunk. And the day I got them was the day before I flew to Halifax.
Oh, jeez.
So like literally I was getting the day before because like I couldn't wear contacts all of a sudden. I had to go. And so they rushed them for me. I went and picked them up. And I'm like kind of like drunk stumbling through Pearson Airport and then get on the airplane and immediately have like the sense of vertigo of like we're taking off and just being like, I don't normally fly badly. So I was like, I'm just going to take a Dramamine and fall asleep.
I don't want to be rude.
Yeah,
I don't want to be rude,
but yeah, I'm sweating a lot, not because I'm hot. I'm feeling a little bilious right now, and I've never had a problem flying ever in my life. But then once I was in Halifax, I was fine. I just made sure I took lots of long walks just to kind of like get myself acclimatized to it, and everything was okay. Speaking of which, Halifax is awesome. I would highly recommend if you want a show to go to, if you want to take a trip with the family, go for Halcon in Halifax, man.
Yeah,
City is beautiful now. They've built up downtown again, and it is my new favorite show in Canada. Like
well, I didn't.
It's in a brand new building. It's small enough that like you can get everywhere. There's no lines. There's no waiting. But they have every modern thing you could possibly want. The vendors were all awesome, and everyone's happy to be there. Because it's not like Toronto where you've got 35 million Ontarians that are like 20 million Ontarians or 19 million Ontarians or whatever it is. We're all miserable, coming to one place and just being miserable together, basically. Like, the line suck, and I had to wait to get my pierogies from the food truck, and like whatever like angry thing they're talking about. Instead, you had a whole bunch of like East Coast Maritimers, all from individual little cities, looking forward all year to this like party where they can come and see people from their like fandom fans, because like it's still fairly like it's still fairly unknown to be like a fandom fan out on the East Coast. You know what I mean? You have lots of little communities where you might not have a comic book store and you have to go to the city to go to the comic book store. And
Right. It's all fishing boats.
Exactly. It's not all Barrett's privateers out there still, but it's still pretty. It's still
Fucking
pretty
beachcombers.
It feels beachcombers. Oh shit! I haven't thought about beachcombers in forever. But it is fairly like I think a big deal to get together with people that know what all this stuff is. You know what I mean? Like
definitely.
to go and dress up in cosplay and go stuff. But Halifax is such a great town, and yeah, man, it was fantastic. I would highly recommend anyone listening to this, if you want to check out a fantastic convention in Canada and just go to like an awesome city in Canada too, Halifax, Nova Scotia, man, it is where it's at. It was a great time. It was a fantastic show, and the city was just beautiful that time of year. October in Halifax is one of my favorite times in any city, anywhere. Nice and warm inside, get some great food, listen to live music.
The only reason I would really want to venture out into the Maritimes is lobster.
Get some good lobster there, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I did, I went to Split Crow and had lobster roll. It was so
Where?
good. Split Crow. It's the oldest bar in Halifax.
Split Chrome?
Split Crow.
Oh, Crow.
Yeah,
Like
Split
Split
Crow.
Chroma.
So the Split Crow is like, I think it was founded, because you have to remember that like the Maritimes are one of Canada's oldest cities, because it's where the Europeans landed basically on this side of the continent. So Halifax is a fairly old city, and the Split Crow, I think it's established in 15 something.
Okay.
So it's an old bar in an old part of town. And it is fabulous food. They always have live music. There's never like a super huge wait unless there's like a bigger band in there. And it is a classic downtown Barrington Street. Actually, it's on Barrington. Yeah, it's just off Barrington actually. Halifax bar, well worth the visit.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, man. Wow, it's the kind of stuff I think makes a trip a good trip, is going and seeing the local stuff. You know what I mean? Like I never like to, when I travel, I don't like to. I'm not the guy that wants to go to a resort and stay in a resort and never see where I'm going. I want to go like get like an Airbnb and eat the food and shop at the local grocery store and like live like people live, basically.
My friends that will play board games with us and stuff. They went to Cuba last year, and they did the resort thing, and
Right.
they had a lousy time. And I'm like, well, did you go into Havana and check things out?
Yeah.
Did you go here? Did you check? I hear this beach over here is really nice.
Right.
Did you check this stuff out? No. Well, what?
What'd you do? You just sat in a resort.
Yeah, you sat fucking resort. Like,
You didn't do anything.
you went to a new land. I mean,
go see the land.
When I went to England last year. I mean, I went and checked local shit out. I made sure that I had to have fish and chips. I had to have.
You went to Pit in the Pendulum the first night. Didn't you?
Yeah,
Right.
had tea. I did all these things. When you're in a new land, you want to check out the local culture, and I had a lot of fun. And
you learn more about people by experiencing the world the way they do.
Definitely.
Is my thing, right? And it's funny. This actually circles back really nice to that whole try the hobby thing, that whole like rounded experience thing, where like people shut themselves off from new experiences because they don't think that they don't think they're gonna like it, or like someone tells them it doesn't have value or whatever. Like it's the same. That's just like a universal concept. Like that has just as much to do with traveling as it does to something like the hobby itself, right? Like if you don't try something, you don't know. And if you do try something, you don't like it, like whatever. I hate Iron Brew. Oh my god, I got all kinds of flack for this from my UK buddies. Stuff is hot gasoline. It's just garbage. It's just the most good. Or what's the other, Lucozade? It's so gross. I don't even like Tim Tams. I'm like a monster. But the local thing that is established as being a piece of local flavor, a piece of local culture, you gotta try it. You gotta see what it's like.
Definitely.
If you don't, then why'd you go? You just went and stood in a place.
Yeah.
And taking pictures. The other thing I never understand is seeing monuments, seeing the famous shit, taking pictures of big statues or big like things. I'm like, I understand walking up to it and seeing it and being like experiencing it, but I don't know why you need a picture of yourself in front of like a thing. Like it doesn't do it for me. I don't know why. I'd rather go somewhere that's interesting.
Prove you were there.
Prove you were there, I guess. Yeah. Be able to tell your friends you were there.
Because, I mean, they frown upon you taking out your little pocket knife and scratching "I was here" kind of thing.
You're not allowed to do that?
No. Because I tried to do it at the Robin Hood statue in Nottingham. They wouldn't let me.
They weren't into it? That's fair. No. They weren't into that at all.
No, they weren't
They
appreciative.
frowned upon those things?
They said, "Kris, we like you and everything, but no."
Stop carving your name on stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you guys put flags on things for like 500 years. I can't put my name on one statue. Come on, this seems hypocritical.
Yeah.
Shout out to the UK. I live in a place where they literally went and put a flag down. So like, what can I say? Yeah. Wait a minute, you were you were here first, and they put that flag down.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting too, because when going there, it's like, I'm talking about the local natives. Well, you guys are native.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you're the natives.
You're the natives now. Well, actually, technically, they're probably not. The natives are probably driven back to like Iceland or Greenland, wherever the Vikings were when the Romans came, and the French after them, killing all the Angles, the Normans. There's not a lot of land in Europe that hasn't been lived. Sorry, Europe and the United Kingdom that hasn't been lived on by a bunch of different people over time.
I think that's the planet. I think
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That's true. But yeah, no, I think that's a really important like just life lesson, is just to try everything and make a point of putting yourself into situations that are outside your comfort zone.
Definitely,
it toughens you up. You know what I mean? Getting a fat lip every now and again is not a bad idea.
Nope,
makes you not afraid to get a fat lip.
It's like Fight Club. I was never in a fight.
That's right. Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine going to the schoolyard at like age 5 or 6 and not getting in a fight over something. Mm-hmm. Like kids are just they're psychopaths until they're like 35. Like your brain doesn't even finish developing until you're in like your early 20s. So like, how can you not at some point get into conflict? I don't know. I don't know how you can't get punched in the face at some point. I'm sure my son's been punched in the face. Like he's been at least 3 fights that I know of. It's not that I want him to be in fights, and then I don't think he's started any of the fights he's been in either. But I don't think he's gonna let himself be bullied. He's the kind of kid. It's funny because he's 4. But he's one of the oldest kids in class, right? Because he's born in February. So the way it is the year you turn 4, you go to JK.
Yeah, I'm a December baby.
So you're the opposite. You're probably the youngest kid in your class the whole time. He's going to be the oldest kid in his class the whole time. So he's a lot bigger than other kids. And so he's a lot more confident, I think, than a lot of the JKs. So some of these senior kindergarten kids will, like, try and push the junior kindergarten kids around. My son's just like, no? Like, what, are you out of your mind? Well, you should do this, Cash. I'm not going to do that. You should give me this, Cash. I'm not going to give you that.
Yeah, my son was the same way. He developed and he got big really fast. But he never really got into fights, at least not that I know of. Not that he was like, he never really came home, bloodied up.
I find when kids are big though, they don't get in fights, and they're also way more conscious of the fact that they are big. Yeah. So they don't hurt somebody. You know what I mean? Like when you're like because I was never like a big kid. I mean, I'm big now. I'm 6'1" and like 250, but like I'm not a kid that grew up and was like 3 inches taller than everybody else. I kind of just grew along at the same rate as everybody, and then when we're all 18, we're all like as big as we're gonna be, ish. Mm-hmm. I was 6'1" and 180 at the time, but like whatever, you're skinny little teenager still. And like that sense of like I don't want to hurt somebody was definitely something that I saw in a friend though, because my buddy Chris Kite, when we were 12, he was like 6'2" and like 250. Jeez. So like we were in the same like Cub Scouts together, and my mom thought he was a teenager, but he's like 12 years old. He's like the same age as me. You know what I mean? Like he's just this kid. And
he wasn't from prep yet,
but he was so gentle. You know what I mean? Because like he was always afraid because he was so much bigger than other kids that like he might accidentally hurt somebody. And so like he was this big like gentle kid that was like immensely big for his size and like strong. And could win any fight he probably wanted to, but never got in a fight. Never even yelled. You know what I mean? Like he was never like even a rowdy kid. Like he was just this really nice guy. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably totally depends on the individual. I'm sure there's some kids that don't grow up that way, or that's just not how they are when they're really big. Right, but that's always been my experience, is that folks that just grew up, and usually fast or like big for their age or whatever, tended not to be like aggressive or like loud or whatever, because I think they were always feeling like they were bigger than everybody else. It's acutely aware. Yeah. Oh my gosh, these miniatures are so awesome. Let me take some pictures of these. Well, I've done some orcs now, and now I'm using minotaurs basically the same way I was using heroes, because all the heroes are built. And so it's like I'm building these awesome huge minotaurs to go with the awesome miniatures of heroes and stuff. I built all these orcs as well. And I also built one of the gates. I love the gate, because this is the thing that like when you do the when you put the dungeon together, there's like a little snap in the bottom here, and the snap in the bottom is where the cardboard slides into, so that you don't accidentally like wreck your map. Your map doesn't like fall apart and fly apart. And I mean, yeah, it's gonna be funny. I'm really excited to see how we film this because I do want to. When the first time it goes off the table, I'm gonna laugh because at some point it is gonna go off the table. It's gonna fly to one side. Oh my god, you get so many goblins. You get 12 goblins and 12 skaven, and then you get 12 orcs. You get 12 everything actually. But I'm gonna actually start. I don't want to burn myself out on this. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with like half basically of everything. And then, because you don't necessarily need every single miniature when you get started.
No.
I'm going to paint half of everything and then save the other half for later. So I'm going to build 4 more orcs, and then I'm going to start clipping out and basing the monsters, like the rats. And the bats, and the snotlings, because you have to have snotlings. Because snotlings are where it's at. The gates I will do at the same time, because the gates will be easy to do. I'll just rattle can them and then give them some dry brush and love. Some dry brush and love, so I'm going to build 4 more orcs, another minotaur, and then start on those monsters. But at least they don't need bases, they just need to be cleaned. Because the thing is, as much as I don't like building miniatures, I can't not clean them perfectly. I can't leave them all, like I can't do it fast. Like there's no rushing it. I can't like half-ass it. I have to whole-ass it. Never do 2 things half-ass. Do 1 thing with your whole ass. It's the law.
It is. Which is why I think these days with the, filming shit and everything like that, that assembly has kind of just become a bit of
your personal time.
Yeah.
Put a movie on, build some shit.
What? I only listen to music. I don't listen to audiobooks. I don't watch
really?
Movies. Yeah, I don't music.
Music. That's awesome.
Yeah, just music.
What do you listen to? Is it upbeat or downbeat? Because like we used to because we used to listen to a lot of like loud
yeah.
like early metal when we were sitting in the office together.
Oh yeah, I have everything. I'll listen to anything other than.
I'm the same way. I just love music in general.
Other than country.
Really, I love some country, man.
No.
You don't like Johnny Cash?
Johnny Cash is not country.
It is.
No.
It is.
No, it's folk. It's more bluegrass.
Oh my god, we're gonna have this argument now.
Johnny Cash is not country.
Fine, it's not country. You don't like Waylon Jennings. You don't like.
I don't listen to Waylon.
Dude, oh my god, you don't like Marty Robbins?
No.
Marty Robbins.
It's not that I don't like him. I don't listen to them.
Okay.
I have Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash. I pull up my Spotify right now. Johnny Cash is on there.
I'm just telling you.
Same with Gordon Lightfoot. Gordon Lightfoot, man.
Willie Nelson?
No Willie Nelson.
Oh my god. No. There's some great country out there.
Jazz I don't listen to.
You know what you need to watch if you have the HBO app is you need to watch Get on the Bus with Mike Judd. He does this amazing series. If you guys haven't watched this, I highly recommend it. So Mike Judd's the guy who was King of the Hill. He's Hank Hill's voice in King of the Hill. He's in Office Space. Just all kinds of stuff. Like he wrote Office Space. Sorry, he has a series on HBO now called Get on the Bus, where he does a historical retrospective from the people that were there of both funk music, where he gets like all kinds of cats from like the funk era, and also of country music, and it's amazing. That's cool. It's amazing because you're hearing from the people who were there, like what they actually did. You should check it out if you want to get an appreciation for rock music. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, because. Usually, I go from anything from electronic metal. I go from Sinatra to Tool. I mean, it's whatever. Sometimes some classic.
To Tool. What's your favorite Sinatra song?
I don't know.
Luck Be a Lady?
No.
No.
What's the one I'm trying to think which one I'm usually singing.
Well, you said I'm growing you on it now. If you're a real Sinatra fan, you got a favorite song. Ain't Love a Kick in the Head?
Blue Moon, I guess. Is
Blue Moon. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's probably the only one I end up singing because usually what I'll do is when I get up in the morning, I'll usually turn Spotify on, jump in the shower, scrub my bowls, and I'm usually listening to Sinatra.
Nice.
So
it's Sinatra's sing along music, right? Because you can definitely sing along. If you like to sing in the shower, dude, I had a buddy. He was my RA in my first year of university. He would always sing in the shower, but he only sang A Tribe Called Quest. It was a Tribe Called Quest. He was this white math student, like I think like long ass hair, but he had his Adidas Stan Smiths, and like he loved hip hop music, and he would just crush Q-Tip's parts of like every Tribe Called Quest song, and it was at like 1,000 decibels. So like every morning, because I was in like the unit with the RA. It was like a 6-bedroom unit basically in our residence. Every morning I knew it was time to get up because Tribe Called Quest started playing, and he'd be just pounding in the shower, just screaming every line of like, I don't know, Ward Tour or something like that. Like, just it was magnificent. Like the guy had some skills. But it's funny because like there's my kids right now are going through phases of listening to music, and I have a playlist on my phone called Kids Favorites, and it's just all the songs that are like just music that they like, right? And right now they're on a huge Ramones kick. And it started off because at the end of, I think, the most recent Spider-Man movie, there's I can't remember which one it is. It's either Hey Let's Go or like Whiskey Bar or something else.
It's one of them.
But it kicked off. I basically just put the Ramones Greatest Hits on my phone every morning now when we eat breakfast, and they listen to like a different Ramones song. And Cash's favorite song right now is "Beat on the Brat." He loves that song, "Beat on the Brat" with a baseball bat. And Kat really likes Judy is a Punk. She thinks it's awesome. It's like, it's funny because it's these like 2.5 minute songs. They're super upbeat and catchy. But then she likes anything that's like 90s-ish punk too. So she really likes I did tell her Bikini Kill is coming to Toronto to play a show. I didn't even know they were still touring.
Jeez.
They do that song, if you haven't heard it, I think it was used in like tons of movies and stuff, which is oh shoot, I just lost it. It's Rebel Girl. Okay. So it's used like it's been used in a lot of kids movies recently, and so my daughter heard it in a kids movie because they start the movie off with the song Rebel Girl, and she just loves Bikini Kill now. Like, it's like her favorite like weird 90s punk band. And I didn't realize they're still touring. And we're saying the radio, and they say like they're like mentioning that Bikini Kill is coming to Toronto like early next year. And my daughter doesn't remember the names of bands yet, really, right, except actually the Ramones. But she can remember the name of songs. And I was like, oh, that's the band that does Rebel Girl. And she's like, what? She's like, can we go? And I'm like, that's not an all ages show, honey. I don't think we can go see Bikini Kill at wherever it's playing in Toronto, not the Rivoli, somewhere it's still open. It's funny because if I start guessing music venues in Toronto, the names I said, probably half of them are gonna be closed because like half of Toronto's music venues are gone now, which is ridiculous. But yeah, no, like it's funny because I get to kind of re-experience music through my kids. Yeah, I'm noticing because they like a lot of stuff that is just like completely at random. My son loves the Lemonheads. Actually, this is the Mrs. Robinson cover Lemonheads did. Thinks that's awesome. And then my daughter really likes the Beatles. She likes
oh, that's cool.
What is it? Baby You're a Rich Man, and she really likes All You Need Is Love and Hey Jude. Those are some of her favorite songs.
My daughter, for the longest time, has been Nirvana and David Bowie.
Bowie, yeah?
Yeah,
nice.
She loves Bowie.
She loves Bowie.
Yeah.
Good for her. She got some taste.
My son bounces between Slipknot and Katy Perry.
Nice. I mean, technically they're both pop music. They're both popular music.
Yeah. So
someone's going to yell at me in the comments for calling Slipknot pop music. If you have an act, if you wear costumes and have an act, technically you're popular music. You're trying to appeal to a demographic through having an act. That makes you pop.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. No, I think it's just but not closing yourself off to possibilities.
Definitely.
There's no reason to not enjoy something.
Nope.
I really like what is the new Lorde called? What's that girl singer called? Oh shoot. She sounds like Lorde. She does like that really dark like she's like 16. She got super popular like on YouTube or something like that. What's her name?
I'm out of it, dude.
Are you really?
Oh, I'm out of it.
You listen to the radio?
Not really.
Did you drive? Oh, it's because you're not driving your cars as much anymore. I find all my music from the radio. I love the radio.
Oh, no.
I love the radio. Oh, shit, what's her name?
I used to be with it.
And then you got
they changed what it was.
They changed what it is? Now if it's confusing and scary?
Yeah, it's new and scary.
Is that back when you wore an onion on your belt? Because it was the style at the time?
Exactly.
For people not getting that reference, that's some Conan O'Brien era Simpsons right there.
We've been crushing Simpsons.
Disney Plus? Does it have Simpsons? Because they have Fox, right?
It's got them all.
Does it really?
All.
See, all I would want if I got Disney Plus, because I don't have it yet, is I would want a Treehouse of Terror anthology. I just want to be able to watch all the Treehouse of Terrors in a row.
They're all there. The only thing is, though, is that they dicked with the aspect ratio to make it fit TV formats these days.
What?
Yeah, so they're cropped in.
Weird.
Yeah, so like there's some scenes that it actually messes with the visual joke.
Oh, because you can't see it because it's like too far off the edge. Weird.
Yeah, that's
super
annoying.
weird.
That's annoying.
That's super annoying. Yeah.
I mean, I was fine with the aspect ratio, the 4:3. I mean, that's what I grew up on, and that's what I was fine with. I mean, like I watch like Star Trek Next Generation and stuff in that format, and I'm fine with it. I've got a big TV. I mean, but I'm fine with letterboxes on the side. I don't know.
There was something recently. It was oh shoot, some like crappy '90s kid show that my kids got addicted to. Beetleborgs. It's on Netflix. Beetleborgs. Yep. It is so awesomely bad, and it was people were trying to rip on the whole Power Rangers thing.
Yeah.
It was like a Power Rangers like knockoff, basically a competitor. And it's all, but they don't bother changing the aspect ratio at all. They just leave it how it is, and you got the little you got your not 16 by, is it 16 by 9? What's the original one?
That's 4:3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you've got your little like black panels on the side or whatever, but it wasn't a big deal. Like, I didn't care.
No, it's no big deal.
It's basically an excuse to explain to my kids this is what TV used to look like.
Yeah.
Before they created letterbox TV.
You don't have to rewrite history. Just show the documents and in the format they were presented originally.
Yeah, I think people think they're improving it maybe, but it's not really improving it.
It's not improving it.
Well, it's funny because I was having that conversation with someone the other day. Because I'm watching I've been going through all the miniseries on HBO, and because we got HBO on Crave TV, and the whatchamacallit, the Fahrenheit 451 they do. It's actually pretty good. I wasn't sure I was gonna like it. It's Michael Shannon and the dude that played what's his name? The bad guy from Black Panther. What's the guy's name? The actor who played, was his name Killjoy? What's the name of the bad? No, not Killjoy. What's the name of the bad guy in Black Panther? Killmonger. Yeah. So the guy who played Killmonger in Black Panther. He plays the main character from Fahrenheit 451, and they kind of take some like liberties with it because they said it today, right? So like they said it today where like all books are being destroyed and all information's on the internet now. They call it the 9 or whatever. To like kind of update it so it's a little more relevant, because it's not about trying to destroy all information. It's about being able to control what the information says.
Right.
And so like because everything's on the internet's mutable basically, and you can change history. Mm-hmm. They don't want any printed word because printed word can't be altered. And then that sparked a conversation with Owen where they're talking about, well, that they're actually doing that today. A lot of like classical literature is being altered.
Yeah.
They're taking certain words out, putting certain words in that might be offensive. Like,
yep.
And I'm like, that's not, but that doesn't preserve that document then. Like if you alter it to be more palatable to today, then it loses its historical significance. Like if you were to change, To Kill a Mockingbird, to not have a lot of the references that are in it that make people uncomfortable.
Just history books in general.
It's not, well, but it's not, it's no longer serving its purpose as being like a testimony to the time that it was written in, and it's, Huck Finn's the same way, or any like The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Like there's some pretty uncomfortable stuff in there.
I mean,
I don't think you're doing the world a service by taking out.
You're not. No, because you're basically destroying the credibility of the written word.
Yeah, and 451's doing that. It's a really good like interpretation of that classic book, where they kind of modernize it and show like if we do that today, it'd be like we just want everything to be digital. Let's put everything. You can read as much as you want on the internet. Read things on the internet, and then what's true or what's not is always mutable because you don't have this physical record anymore of like.
Yep.
Of what things are, and so they're burning art, they're burning basically everything they get their hands on that's not digital, because then it's whatever they want it to be, right? They can change history, make whatever they want it to be.
Yep.
And the excuse is that like in this version of Fahrenheit 451 that there's like an American Civil War and they want to keep it from ever happening again. So they don't want anyone to have like bad ideas. They want everyone to be happy.
Right.
And I'm like, and that sounds like a very compelling logical argument, like that you don't want people to have bad ideas and bad thoughts. So let's just keep them and make them happy instead. But then you realize what you're losing. You're losing the ability to basically to know what's real or not.
Wasn't that the background premise in Book of Eli as well?
Yes, it was. That's why they're burning. So that was the background premise of like why there's no books left, is everyone burned them because they thought it caused a nuclear war.
Yeah.
Because basically the whatever atomic war happened was because of ideas, and all ideas were bad. Mm-hmm. And so any books that were like of ideas they burned. They didn't burn all books. They just burned books that were like very, very like controversial. So they burned like all religious books, all science books, like everything that was like that possibly could have contributed to this war happening. But then in the process, of course, they don't know how to make clean drinking water or, clean infections, and the world becomes pretty bad.
Yeah.
That one had a great twistery, though. I won't ruin it if people haven't seen it. Book of Eli had a good third act twist.
Book of Eli is a good movie.
It's basically Blind Justice. It's basically what's his name? Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman. Right? It's the same idea.
Blind Fury.
Or Blind Fury, yep.
Yeah.
All those. Was that Rutger Hauer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
I forgot about Blind Fury with Rutger Hauer. That's a tremendous movie.
Yeah, it's a classic.
A classic of, is it 80s cinema? I think
it's 80s
cinema, yeah. That's back when when HBO Film was a very different place. They're making some very different weird movies. There's a few gems in there, but there's a lot of hot garbage in HBO Film in the 80s and 90s. Hot garbage. I was watching one the other day. It was To Cast a Spell. Did you ever see that one?
No.
It's the L.A. Confidential H.P. Lovecraft story.
Jeez.
Starring Fred Ward of Tremors fame.
Yeah.
He's the other guy with Kevin Bacon. He was also in The Adventures of Remo Williams. Mm-hmm. He was Remo Williams. He was a pretty he had a sort of like
in the 80s. He was big.
In the 80s and 90s. Yeah, he was a pretty big actor.
He was in Right Stuff.
He was in Right Stuff. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, Fred Ward's in that as private investigator H.P. Lovecraft trying to solve a murder in L.A. But it's an alternate universe L.A. where everyone can use black magic.
Sweet.
And so there's magic is real and people are cursing each other or whatever. It is so bad it's good. To Cast a Spell. Yeah, it's a real interesting watch. And you go back and you're like, this is an HBO film? What is happening? I expect a slightly higher caliber from that HBO Film logo when it comes up now than Fred Williams in To Cast a Spell. And I know someone's gonna disagree with me and be like, To Cast a Spell is a national treasure. It is not. It is not a national treasure. It is an okay film at best.
Some hot garbage.
It's what was I said earlier? You think you're hot shit in a champagne glass, but you're actually cold diarrhea in a Dixie cup. To quote my spiritual animal, the Monarch. Oh, Monarch, you're the best. What is in the bottom of this base? I'm having to salvage so many square bases right now because you can't get them anymore. So I'm going through Owen had this bag of cast off bases that he kept of stuff that he rebased for Age of Sigmar that was on square bases. And I'm like, can I have those square bases? He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything with them. And this one's got hot glue on the bottom for some reason. Weird. I don't know why this is on here.
Because it was somebody hobbying.
I guess. I think they stuck it down. Actually, this could have been one of Owen's amalgamated contraptions too, because I found his homemade War Altar of Chaos the other day. It's so bad. It's sprues with random plastic wheels attached to it, and then it's oh my god, it's amazing. It looks like it's made out of popsicle sticks. It's so funny. It makes me laugh. His Hellcan's not much better. His Hellcan's an ogre banner top on an old receipt printer tube, held together with some random wheels and stuff.
It was hilarious.
His kids aren't even happy.
My buddy that I used to game with back in the day, he because in Rogue Trader, the Space Marines missile launcher was this big, shoulder-fired contraption.
Submarine. It was a submarine launcher. It had a weird fin at the back that spun around.
It was a really weird-looking thing.
The forged ones kind of look like it. They've made some forged ones that look similar. They're not perfect, but they're similar.
So he didn't really. He wanted to have more in his group, but he didn't want to get more of the Space Marines.
Right.
And he just wanted to convert up some Space Marines and have the missile launchers. So what he did was he took the the caps from brushes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the plastic caps.
The plastic caps. He took those and he used bits and did them up and made them look like basically bazookas.
Bazookas, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, sure as shit, when second edition come out, that's what the Devastator missile launcher looks like. It's a big bazooka.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What the hell? They copied my idea."
Games Workshop's been reading my notes, reading my playbook, stealing my ideas. Well, it's funny because that one
fucking Minority Report shit going on.
That one just took the took the feeder and put it on the bottom. Because remember the missiles fed to the bottom then into the tube as opposed to being on top and falling in through gravity. Yeah. Different times, man. Different times. Those heavy weapons are all funny because they're all shoulder mounted too.
Yeah.
Except the Chaos ones in Rogue Trader, who had they had the two-handed ones that they would hold back and forth. Different eras of model design. All right, well, I'm done all the stuff I'm going to base. And so I'm on to these critters. I'm going to do some critters who don't need basing, just need to be cleaned. Then I'm going to start doing... Is that... No, okay, that's not a piece. I'm not sure what's the sprue here right now. And I'm going to get on to this.
Somebody's going to be missing an arm here in a minute.
Yeah, this bat's going to lose something. And then I'm going to get on to these frames. How are you doing?
I'm still plugging away on columns.
Nice. Got 6 done. How many does it come with again? I think it's 8. I think those are all walls. Yeah.
No, these are columns.
Oh, those columns?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, there's 2 more.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So you get 2, 4, so you get 10, 12 total.
Yeah.
12 columns. That's cool, because the...
That's...
You'll have 12 columns
12
to go in 16 spots, actually. Because there's 4 tiles there, so
Yeah.
12 columns for 16 spots. That's not bad. It's going to fill it up.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's funny, the plastic here is really soft. So I'm going to be really, really careful with how I clean it. So I'm not sure if this is just like an older compound of like GW plastic, but it feels almost like vinyl-y.
Well, back in the day, I mean, plastic, like GW plastic, never felt consistent. You had like the
Your different colors of gray, for sure.
Yeah. And whereas like today, now it feels like normal styrene plastic. It always feels the same no matter what kit.
It's funny, I can tell the stuff that's been made in China though, the big kits, because it's a bit shinier. There's a slightly different mix or something in whatever the chemical components are they're putting into it, because it has like a glossness to it almost. It's like a little bit of shine.
Yeah, because like this plastic,
it's like grainy. Versus that like dark gray plastic that you have there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This
definitely different composition.
Different stuff. And I mean, like, however this was like a hand sculpted thing, and then they poured the plastic in to make the mold, or
no, these all would have been steel dies. They would have been steel dies. For sure.
I would assume all styrene plastic has got to be a steel die.
It's always
right?
a steel die.
An injection mold. Yeah. But I mean, like, where now you get such crisp details, whereas these like details are pretty soft. You know,
well, this was all these steel dies are made by hand. They're not being cut by a computer, right? Whereas those new ones are all being cut by a computer, so they will always be perfect. These are being cut. These are being cut by a person.
Yeah, because you can
reducing them.
Because these almost have a hand quality to them, like the sculpture. Yeah.
Well, they were sculpted by hand for sure, and then they were probably done as 3-ups and then reduced in size when they actually went to put them down as the actual like mold.
Right.
They had a human being doing all that. Which is why the process was so long. That's why you get like 4 or 5 plastic kits a year from Workshop back in the day. And now you get them like, geez, we get like what, 10 a month? Like, it was a big deal to put out Warhammer Request because there's a lot of plastic, and then there's a lot of individual different frames. Even the ones they reuse, because they reuse the Skaven, the Goblins, and the Orcs from the Fantasy Battle line. But even just the number of new sprues here is a significant. Like,
well, I think those bats and the rats are also reused.
No, they're not, because they're on their own little bases, whereas the original Fantasy Swarms one were all metal, right? So these were done just for this. They got released later on. They released all the stuff in this box later on as individual packs you could buy.
Yeah. Because I think it was like a little green box.
Yeah, it was a Fantasy Swarms pack. It came with one of these frames,
and
you got basically enough for like 2 of each. You got 2 swarms of each. So you got 2 bat swarms, 2 snotling swarms, some spiders, and some rats. I think the goblins used to be able to use the spiders, as swarms. The forest goblins could, but they're on their own little like basey tabs. So then in Quest you didn't have to put them on a base. I almost opened this box up to use it for Ranges of Shadow Deep.
Oh, really?
I needed some spiders. I was like, I need some spiders. Where do I get spiders? Quest had spiders in it, and then like I'm sitting there almost ready to like crack them open and just take the spiders. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm ruining this perfect copy. If I open this box, it's to paint it. Ash, what are you doing? It was like having your finger on the missile command button, ready to launch. I couldn't go through with it.
You're almost ready to burn the book.
That's it. I couldn't go through with it. Because like even like the cards are all still in the plastic in here and stuff too. You find 3 gold hidden under some old rags in a corner. Record the money in your adventure cards. You can find gemstones in a boot. Remember that? So you can find that same boot full of gemstones.
I only played this one once.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great
I'm trying to remember who the hell had it.
You're gonna love this game.
But yeah, we only played it once.
So Chris also has all the Lair of the Orc Lord stuff. He's got somewhere the Lichmaster stuff. We're not sure where that one ended up. But we have pretty much all the expansion characters, so we can use all kinds of different characters. Who you want to play as? Who's gonna be your character?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a wizard. You can be a useless wizard.
Be the useless wizard.
You can be the useless
He's not
wizard
useless.
Again. He's not useless. You're right. He lets people chase him. The one thing Chris couldn't find so far is Bog Off the Snotling. I'm not sure where Bog Off the Snotling is. Because the Snotling steals the lantern. Because one of your heroes always carries the lantern.
Yeah.
And if the barbarian's in the group, he always takes the lantern because he's like, "This is my lantern! Give me this!" He's afraid of the dark, probably. But Bog Off the Snotling in the Lair of the Orc Lord would come and steal your lantern. And you had to catch him to get it back. Otherwise, you didn't know where the hell you were going. Couldn't see anything. Because the lantern disappears. And it was just this Snotling miniature carrying a lantern that was like clearly stolen. Oh god, I'm dropping everything. I'm dropping everything. Clean these guys off. And this will give me a nice chunk of stuff to paint. I'm not sure if I want to do contrast paints. Because the orcs and stuff, to give them like a nice bright paint job, I was really considering just going contrast paints and cranking them out like that.
I can't sit down anymore.
You stand up for a minute?
Yeah. Oh, man. This,
Steel chairs?
this stool is, killing my ass.
There you go. You should be fine. Take a break. I pan the camera back so you can be okay. We're almost done anyway. I'm almost ready to take a break. I think that's long enough for these people to listen to us talk like idiots about everything that comes into our heads.
Stool, ass.
Hobby time.
That's a joke, son.
That's a joke, son. What's that from?
It's Fogger and Legor.
Oh, Fogger. That's right, yeah.
Come on, I'm all about the Looney Tunes, man.
That's right. That's a joke, son.
That's a joke, son.
Oh, Foghorn Leghorn. I'll say.
I was married in Tennessee.
Yep,
in
that's
Memphis,
right. Yeah.
And the judge who performed, he sounded exactly like
Foghorn Leghorn?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I forgot. It's so funny how weirdly we have like a whole bunch of shit like that in common. That you lived in Memphis, I lived in Memphis.
Oh, yeah.
Different times. 'Cause you were with FedEx back then, weren't you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's where they're from.
Yeah. It's my father. He convinced me to move down there because he was a programmer for FedEx.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Getting work done.
Yeah. Well, he was a brilliant dude.
Well, I think we're hitting the point of both of us needing a break because my lower back's starting to hurt too.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed this hobby hangout. This was a lot of fun. I got a whole bunch of stuff done I probably would have taken forever to do otherwise. You built an insane amount of pillars, which has broken the back of that, which is awesome. And you just got to go paint your corpse grinders and we can get the rest of this stuff done. It's going to be great.
Corpse grinders have been a lot of fun, but I've been only doing the one character, getting it look nice, but everybody else is going to
just power through the rest when it's done.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, no frills.
Yeah, because last week, because we'll be seeing this next week, we'll have rounded off our first cycle for Necromunda. So we'll be getting ready to start the next one.
No, this week.
Yes, this will
by
come
the
out.
time
This will come out. It'll be last week that we've done that when they hear this.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
So yeah. So I highly recommend it if you want to get some stuff done, reinvigorate yourself, and just have an excuse to hang out with people. I think a hobby hangout is a really good idea. I hope you enjoyed ours. Obviously, we drifted into out of a lot of different topics, but I think we always do. But I think because we were hobbying, it kind of helped us to just kind of like freestyle it.
But I think anybody that's sitting together and having a tea, a beer, whatever, a laugh, doing some hobbying, you're gonna drift all over the place. Yeah. Especially if you're all your friends who, you don't get to see too often. Your old buddies or whatever from back in the day, or your gaming group or whatever. This is just an excellent opportunity to just frickin' hang out.
Make time.
Yeah.
Make time to have a hangout and have it be something that you all do together, not one person doing to another, and include multiple people. I think there's some value.
And I think the other thing too, and I was trying to think of like what else this is the positive aspect of sitting together and doing this stuff, is that it gets you fired up for your next games.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you're all saying, "Oh, and we can do this. Oh, you know what? When we're finished this,
we do that.
We can do this."
It's funny because I have Chris messaging me while we're doing this about all of his plans for us doing a Rogue Trader game. He's like, "I think we should do this. I think we should keep it Rogue Trader in its purest form. So nothing but this. One of us will be the game master. We'll have Transformers Rex come in, do this and do that." And I'm like, this is awesome. You're so excited about this. He just wants to paint some Rogue Trader minis. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So anyway.